My name is Byron, and on camera this morning is Brian. So the B&B team back together. And on the other vehicle we have Tayla and VM and the thumb. Sorry, Brian's thumb saying hello. And then in the FC we've got Louise and Kirsten as always. And welcome to all our viewers. Lovely to have you with us on Safari Live this morning on our sunrise safari. And we've got these beautiful lions, a male and a female, not far from camp. They've been calling quite a lot this morning. We thought there may have been a bit of interaction and some fighting. We heard some other lions. We haven't found them just yet, but we got to find this male and female walking along, and they've come and laid down very close to the Vuyatela waterhole. And we are situated in the Greater Kruger National Park up in the northeastern part of South Africa, in an area known as Djuma Game Reserve, which is situated in the Sabi Sands. And everything we are seeing, you are seeing completely live. For those new viewers out there, thank you for joining us. It's great to have you with us. Please don't forget that you are able to send through questions and comments either via Twitter at #SafariLive, or email us questions@wildearth.tv, and we'll gladly answer your questions for you. And we love hearing from all our viewers. It's quite a cool morning this morning. It's very overcast. It's about 20 degrees Celsius and about 68 degrees Fahrenheit. So very nice, cool morning. It was wonderful to wake up and hear these lions calling very close to camp. I'm not exactly sure what happened, but it did sound like there was a bit of activity, bit of interaction, perhaps between the lionesses and the males. And this male has managed to keep this lioness. It looks like he's possibly trying to mate with her or see if she is an estrus, and that's perhaps why he is following her like this. We're going to sit with them for a while, and while I do that, head over to Tayla so she can say good morning.
Yes, and good morning it is this morning. I know, not quite as hot as what it could be, and I'm very, very thankful for that. Wow, flies are out in force here already. The little bit of rain that we seem to have had over the last few days, and I think the sheer volume of kills that these lions have been making has contributed significantly to the massive fly number increase that we seem to be having. But I couldn't think of a better way to say good morning to you. For those who are just meeting me for the first time, I'm Stef, and we have Dave on camera today. And I couldn't think of a better way than to be next to one of the giants here at Djuma. This is a giant cluster leaf tree, and by giant I mean it is possibly the largest silver cluster leaf tree that is at Djuma. I haven't seen one that is bigger than this, and I have never seen one that is larger or even similar in size to this old guy. Ancient being, I should say, is probably the better way of describing it. It's lovely, hey? What our plan is today, we are going to go south, and for no other reason than Herbie said Queen Karula has not made an appearance in the last couple of days. He thinks that she is going to come in from the south, and so we're going to go and look for some leopard tracks today and see if we can aid Taylor and Byron in their search for Karula. What are the chances of us finding Karula on foot? I don't know, me, pretty slim. I tend to get distracted by things along the way, and but nevertheless, there's always a good chance that we hear something. Being on foot, obviously, is less of a... we disturb the bush around us less, and there's less noise from a vehicle, so it's easier to hear things like alarm calls and other animals reacting to leopard. Wow, I must be honest with you that I haven't been on a walk since last week sometime, and the difference in green is just incredible. Now, as we're going to be sending you away to Byron in a second or two, but as you leave us, just have a look at what we're seeing over here today, and all the green fuzz that's come up.
I almost forgot that Stef was out with us this morning. Stef's out on his bushwalk. It's always great to have him back with us. Look how beautiful this male is. It's magnificent. He gave a very, very low call earlier. Maybe we're lucky because there was all that calling and vocalizing this morning. Perhaps he's trying to find out where the other males are, his brothers or the rest of the pride. So maybe we're lucky and we get a call, a roar from these lions. But usually if males are with females and are looking to mate with them, they generally try to keep quiet because they don't want to attract attention of other lions. They don't want other males coming in and potentially spoiling their opportunity to mate with the females. But let's see, you never know. And as I said, there was a lot of calling and vocalizing this morning from these lions. So maybe we're lucky and we still get one or two roars from them. So X-Ranger has just sent through a comment, and X-Ranger says it's now 50 days in a row of us seeing cats on Safari Live, big cats. So X-Ranger, I know, it's incredible. I really can't believe it, and it's, I think it's 50 days of lions too. I know leopard have been seen too, but I think it's the lions, or 50 days of lions non-stop. That's incredible. It really is amazing. Male just cleaning himself now. It's very interesting. Their tongues are incredibly rough. They're actually barbed. They're slightly barbed. They've got very sharp hairs on their tongue, which cause it to be very, very rough. And they're able to clean themselves properly. Usually, if lions are at a kill, you'll often see them licking the kill to get some of the skin or hair away, and you can hear that rough tongue rubbing up against the skin of the carcass that they're feeding on. So very, very rough tongue, coarse tongue. So a great tool for grooming and cleaning themselves. So Chris Rogue has asked, do I think that were these lions perhaps fighting for mating rights? Hang on, let's see where this female goes. Maybe we're lucky and they come and drink at the waterhole. We're not far from them. So Chris, I'm not sure. It is a possibility. I just want to see where this lioness goes. Maybe reposition just so we can see them drinking nicely. It does look like they want to. I'm going to reverse quickly. I think she may go and drink just off to our left. We'll get her from the other side. Hang on. Oh. She's not too happy with them. Oh, she's not interested in drinking. All right. So, Chris, I'm not too sure. Possibly. I think maybe these lionesses or these males try to split one or two of the lionesses away. Maybe the males were getting a bit aggressive with each other because they are trying to mate. It is a possibility. I don't think there were other lions in the area. I think this was just the Nkuhuma pride with these Birmingham males. So it is a possibility that there's perhaps just a bit of interaction between the males, even though they are part of a coalition and they do stick together. There is still a lot of competition between these males for mating rights and for dominance. There is still a hierarchy within a coalition. Even if they are brothers, one will be more dominant than the other. So I'm not too sure what happened this morning. Perhaps they heard lions in the distance and they were calling basically to warn other lions that this is their territory and they mustn't come closer. I know we do get the Styx pride. Have a look at that male quickly. Just it was interesting behavior. I'll explain that shortly. So as I was saying, we do have the Styx pride which cross over occasionally. Maybe they heard one another. Don't think they came into contact, but there was definitely a lot of vocalizing this morning. So possibly these males just having a little bit of a standoff, and this one got to follow this female for a while. Getting back to that interaction that the male was doing, let's see if he does it again. It's known as phlegm and grimace, and he was standing where that lioness was, just watching that male. He's very focused. He's definitely picking up the scent on the other lions. So what may also have happened, and again, because we didn't see, I can only assume or guess, and the way he's smelling over there, perhaps the rest of the pride were in this area this morning. They were, oh, there we go, he's doing that phlegm and grimace. You see that? Wonderful. So that is basically what he's doing. He is tasting or picking up the scent of the urine of other lions that were in the area. He's probably licking a spot there where they urinated, and the reason they do that is they have a Jacobson's organ. Have a look, he's doing it again. They've got a Jacobson's organ which is situated at the back of their palate, the roof of the mouth. And what that is it's an additional sense organ. So with these lions tasting the urine, and not just lions do it, other animals do it too, they put the urine or that scent on that organ, on that Jacobson's organ, and it allows them to tell whether or not females are in estrus. It's an easier way for them to recognize perhaps the lions within their pride and the other males around. So it's an incredible sense organ, and that behavior that male was doing now is phlegm, and there he's doing it again. See that? He's pushing the scent onto his palate, onto that Jacobson's organ. That is wonderful. It looks like he's smiling or snarling, and that is known as the phlegm and grimace. Very interesting to see. I know a lot of the other viewers did hear the rest of the lions this morning. So there was definitely a pride around here. Perhaps this male and female weren't with the pride when they were calling. Maybe the rest of the pride with one of the other males, they were around here. And that sound attracted these lions into the area. And the rest of the pride have possibly moved off. And I think that's why these lions are now picking up on the scent of these lions. They're possibly urinating. So the female's also doing it. She also does it. Probably picking up on the scent of the lionesses from her pride, from the Nkuhuma pride. So this is wonderful, a wonderful behavior, and it's great to see lions doing that. We're going to stick with them for a while and see what they get up to. Maybe they meet up with the rest of the pride later. While we do that, now you can go across to Tayla and see what she's up to.
Good morning and welcome to a very cloudy sunrise safari. Of course, my name is Tayla, and on camera with me we've got Byron. Now, we are at the moment patrolling the southern boundary of Djuma, just having a look around to see if we can pick up on any leopard tracks that have hopefully crossed back into our traverse. So I've been taking this road very easy for the last few minutes now, making sure that I try not to miss any tracks, of course. And there's lots and lots of hyena footprints going up and down the road. There's been lots of elephant tracks and buffalo and all sorts of other goodies. So it was really busy last night, perhaps with the cooler weather around. Everybody's sort of making use of it and traveling a little bit further than what they would be in the heat. Now, I'm also checking these marula trees as we drive along, so I'm trying to do a lot of multitasking here. because we know how the leopards just love to sit in the marula trees. They do, of course, have the most perfect branches, but nothing just yet. Oh, hang on, I actually have something to show you, seeing as though we have some marulas. Yes, well, don't we all just love Jiggy's squeaky brakes? And we have to look in my box of tricks. Where are you? Aha, found ya. Remember the other morning, I think it was, or afternoon, that I said that I found a little marula fruit? Well, I did. Look at it over here. Now, it's not very ripe. Oh, I'll just leave it there. You can see it's a little bit bruised. And of course, this is a tiny marula fruit. I mean, it's really, really small. I'll give you my, sorry, I'm covering the screen, but I want to put my pen here. Look at that. Look how small it is. Now, these marula fruits will probably get 3 or 4 times that size before they become ripe. And then they will drop off of the tree. And then that is then where they start to ripen. And they are so delicious. There's quite a big seed in here. Should we see if we can open it? Let's see if we can actually open it so I can show you what the seed looks like. Right, which knife are we going to use today? I'll try not to cut myself. Oh, oh my goodness, this is so cool. Look at this. Look how soft the seed is still. Don't you think it almost looks like a jalapeno inside? Now, typically, we're never really able to do that. What I will do is I shall show you a older marula seed, if I can find one, if the squirrels haven't taken them all, and then we'll have a look. But there's not much flesh on this fruit, I'm afraid. The seed is normally covered by a little bit of a fleshy thing, and the idea behind it is to sort of just take a little bit of the top off, and you push. No, it's not working, but normally it's so full of liquid and a little bit, it's quite sort of slippery, I suppose, and then you squish it out like that, and you put the whole pip, the seed, into your mouth, and you chew it around, and you just pull off a little bit of flesh, and it's really nice. But that was quite pretty. I didn't think it was going to look like that. I'm hearing lots of birds in the distance, but unfortunately nothing alarm calling just yet. Everyone's just waking up. Well, let's carry on for our search. Right, we're going to continue looking for any of the leopards that have hopefully come across, and then we might possibly pop into Arathusa. We shall see how the day progresses, but let's go back across to Stef, who I'm sure is happy to be back out on foot again.
You know, it's not only marula fruit that we're looking forward to in the summer, it's also all the multitude of insects that are starting to hatch and come about. And there's one here that we found. Look at this little guy. Coming to say hello. This is a grasshopper that is obviously camouflaged to look like stalks of grass, but he was injured slightly. Last night something had a go at him and took off a wing and a back leg, and it gives us a pretty unique look at the inside of that flash coloration that these locusts use to disorientate predators. So that red that you see there is part of a flash display. As soon as the wings pop open, that red and the white body underneath give a very harsh contrast to the coloration on the other side, to that grass-like or leaf, that blade-like, the grass blade-like camouflage, and that disorientates a predator and will sometimes cause or let the predator move on, especially as you can see now when the grasshopper stays dead still. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to place this grasshopper where we found him, back in this grass here, and have a look at how he disappears. Now I'm going to be putting a piece of grass there for you. Here's the grasshopper here. So camouflaged, I think even David at the moment is lost. Let me stand up so you can get around the grass, Davey. Come with us around the grass over here and have a look at exactly how camouflaged this grasshopper is. There he is, and I'm going to show you a female now as well. I've just only noticed her for the first time. So that's him, and this is her. Can you see that at the end of the stick there? That is a grasshopper.
Oh wow.
David's just gone, oh wow. Have a look at that. Let me uncover her. Here she is right here. There's the full length of her. You can see a relatively big grasshopper. There's my finger next to her. Have a look at that. There she is there. I think, let's get some of this grass out of the way for you. Isn't that amazing? Two grasshoppers, completely different, same kind of grasshopper, this being the male and this being the female, and colored completely different. This male's colored like green grass leaves basically, or the blades of the grass, and this one down here colored like the dead leaf stalks of the grass. Oh, just amazing. Wouldn't even know that they were there. Eh? That is why I like the growing season out here. It's just, there's just something almost on every single bush, on every single termite mound. And from here we've actually got this dwarf boerbean flowering, beautiful flowers this morning, lovely colored display. These dwarf boerbeans like to grow over here and in the Sabi sands. And quite often you find them associated with wettish areas, so on the sides of drainage lines. Now what we do have here, and what is why we came here in the first place, is I wanted to see if this natural pan, this is a natural wallow, a natural pan, filled up at all with the rain that we had here a couple of nights ago. And as you can see, it absolutely has. Isn't that amazing? This is naturally occurring, so we haven't made this pan at all. This pan wasn't scraped. It's not here because of runoff from anything that humans have done. This pan, for all we know, has been here and in existence and have been used by animals for the last couple of thousand years. It is in a drainage line, but the actual drainage line itself, the actual riverbed itself, runs there through the trees there, past that old jackleberry, and then all the way through there. This here is a side chute. It's almost like a type of oxbow lake, if I were to say it. It's an offshoot of the main channel and would flow only in times of a lot of rain. But you can see that it does actually hold a lot of water. You can imagine if this was full, it would probably extend. I would say that it would be about this deep, where I'm standing now, at the edge of where these plants grow, all the way here and extend all the way around. You can see where there's very little vegetation. Those trees would mark the edge of this particular pan. Huge wallow. And quite nice. Something to remember actually while we are walking around here in the bush looking for anything spectacular wherever we can. Now I'm going to be sticking my head into some more bushes for you over the next couple of minutes. We should pull something out over here that's interesting, hairy or scary or otherwise. And in the meantime we're going to send you over to Tayla, who's got a buffalo.
Well, there seems to be, it's not a particularly big herd, but bigger than what we have been seeing over the last few days. There must be about 50 of here. Most of these buffalo have already moved off into the bushes. But we've got a couple still coming out and crossing the road. You can see that buffalo in the middle is quite thin. Hips exposed, ribs exposed. Now this is what we're going to start to see again as all the grass disappears. And I think that they are hoping that that grass is going to grow super quickly after the rain that we had. Those two don't look too bad. They look alright and plump. And that's what happens. Here's another one that looks, that youngster didn't look as fit as the others. And this is of course the case of will the fittest and the strongest buffalo survive. We saw quite a few buffalo unfortunately succumbing to the harsh conditions a couple of months ago. And then of course we had that lovely downpour of rain in September which helped them out and they got fat again. And now we're seeing the cycle come through for a second time and taking a couple of buffalo out. Those two walking together. Those two don't look too bad. Majority of the buffalo though are looking quite good. I don't think it's going to be as bad as what we experienced the end of last year, the beginning of this year. sort of January and February, where we were at our worst. It was so hot and so dry, no rain for months. It was really, really harsh conditions. And I was chatting to Herbert today. I said, Herbert, when are we going to get some rain? And he just shook his head. He said he doesn't know what's going on with the weather. So I'm glad it's not just us that's confused. But like I said, we're going to see these buffalo now moving away from the open areas and just continuously moving along and back towards the drainage lines where we've been driving along them. You've seen how lush it is, and it's good. And I have seen the buffalo starting to browse again, which is understandable for them. But we need to carry on. I want to very quickly finish my little patrol all the way to Cheetah Cut Line, just to have a look and see if we can pick up on any leopard tracks. So far, we haven't had anything just yet. But we will continue looking. Right. I know that you're probably sitting there itching, waiting to get back to the Nkuhumas. Well, let's not wait any longer.
Now we're still sitting with these lions. They've moved a little bit away from the waterhole, out into the clearing. What a wonderful, wonderful sighting, and great to spend some time with them. Just want to radio Tayla quickly. I just want to give her an update I heard while she was chatting to you. Let's wait for some of the other guys to stop chatting on the radio. Watch that female just cleaning herself. See, in the mornings there's a lot of this activity, cleaning. They've probably been walking around, bit of moisture on the grass and that, so they do try and clean themselves a little bit. She's beautiful. Tayla for Byron. Sounds like there's another lion on the vehicle. It's it's Brian's stomach this morning. I think perhaps he's a bit hungry. Let's see where this female is going. They might head back up to those clearings towards quarantine. They did come down from there. When we first found them, they'd walked through from there. But let's see, and I think this male will possibly get up and follow this female soon. I don't think he will want to let her out of his sight too much. Let's see. He's still just watching her very intently, but I think he may get up soon. There we go. And he's up. We'll follow them a bit and see where they go. It's great. It's wonderful to find lions early in the morning like this, while they're still active, while they're moving around. We'll start. Let's follow them for a while. Isn't this great? Amazing. It's so wonderful to spend time with lions like this. And this male is in good condition. He's a beautiful male. You know, the other Birmingham male we've been seeing recently is the one that's got that very bad scar on his face. Not exactly sure how he got it. Maybe a fight with his brother, or from one of the other lionesses, maybe a claw, and caused the infection. I know you did see how badly it was infected. It looks like it's getting a bit better, and these animals have the amazing ability to heal very, very quickly. Tayla for Byron. Oh, look at this. You can actually see, if you look at his mane underneath, you can see it is a little bit wet there. And that's probably from the moisture around. Copy. Taylor, Mike has got an update for you. Just get hold of Mike around cheetah cutline. You can see he's got a bit of a scar on his shoulder too, just over there. Can you see that? Not sure if it's a scar or if it's from a parasite. It looks like potentially a little scratch or scar. And you could see in his face too, these males, all of them, because there's constantly competition, they do fight and scratch each other quite badly. So Melinda's asked us a question: what is the life expectancy of a lion? So Melinda, with males and big males like this who are dominant in an area, they do compete a lot with other lions. So generally their life expectancy is about 10 to 12 years, depending. With these big males, in a coalition like we have with this Birmingham pride, or Birmingham males, they'll probably live a little bit longer because they'll be able to be more successful. They can keep out other competition. So the chances of them fighting with other males are a lot less. But generally males 10 to 12 years and females probably around 14 to 15 years. And those are averages. You may get them occasionally living a little bit longer, but on average 10 to 12 for males and about 14 to 15 years for females. So a bit longer. The lioness just lying under the trees there. She looks like she's crawling through a little bit. Not sure. She's probably just chewing on some grass. Lions do that occasionally. Maybe help with digestion. Speaking about the grass, I know Stef was appreciating all the green grass around at the moment. Let's see what he's up to on the bushwalk.
You know, you'd think with all the food that these lions are having to eat, that eating grass wouldn't be necessary this time of the year, but nonetheless we have grass-eating lions. We also have leaf-like locusts. What you're looking at over there is a crested locust, a male crested locust, which I'll go into in a second, which is almost exactly the same, I would say exactly the same shade red as the dead leaves of this round leaf bloodwood. Now, what has just astounded me between the sighting we just had before this with those grass-like locusts and this leaf-like locust is just their ability to mimic the colors that are around at the moment. And I know with some insects, they are able to change their coloration as the seasons progress, depending on where they find themselves at that particular time. And I'm wondering if this particular locust hasn't done exactly that. It would, you know, it would seem that they can. Now I know Honey's ocelot has remarked exactly the same thing, that they seem to be able to change color. Now I'm going to see if I can catch this little guy. There we go. Let's put him up here for closer inspection. This is a crested locust because of the crest on top of the head there. You can see that quite sharp ridge. And I know it's a male because of the fact that he has such large wings. You can see the wings over here, the wings that are spread out over the back like this. Female crested locusts get so large that they don't actually fly. They actually lose the ability to fly, and what they do is they go and sing or rub their legs together and stridulate a sound, and release a pheromone, and that attracts the males which come flying in from all over the place. But just have a look at that coloration on the head and on the eye. Isn't that just unbelievable? Looking identical to a leaf. Now I'm going to bend down in a bit. It's going to be quite jarring. What I want to try and do here is give you an idea. This is a leaf from the round leaf bloodwood. Let's go right up tight on that leaf over there and have a look at that coloration. Now have a look at that. I think even the patterns are similar. Isn't that amazing? Yeah. Now, David, all the way from Napa, I can't agree with you more. The fact that these insects can mimic not only the exact shade, but it looks like not quite texture, but at least the patterns on these things is just incredible. I'm going to put this little guy down in this leaf litter, and from eye level I'm going to show you how difficult it was to actually spot him. Now, why are they so cryptically colored? The reason for that is that in nature, if you move, you attract attention to yourself, and so quite often the best way to stay safe is simply to just disappear. Now I'm going to put that locust down. Hopefully he doesn't jump away in terror straight away. No, there he goes. But he's jumped straight onto another leaf. I'm going to point him out to you at the end of this stick. There. Let me point him out again. Right there. Got him. Amazing, hey? Literally just disappeared before our very eyes. All right, we've got them coming out of the woodwork today. We're going to send you from this fantastic male crested locust over to a millipede with Tayla.
Now we are looking at one of the oldest known land animals, really. Of course, the millipede. Now, they first appeared in the Silurian period, which was many, many millions of years ago. And can you believe that the ancestors of this millipede used to reach lengths of about 2 meters? Now, of course, unfortunately, the largest millipede is the giant African millipede, and unfortunately they don't get as big as 2 meters. They sort of get the length of about a ruler, possibly a little bit longer than that. But isn't it amazing how you can see all those little legs working now as it goes about on its day, looking for something to eat? Oh, is that a nice leaf? Just testing it to see. No, doesn't pass quality control. Off to the next one. And these creatures are amazing, the way that they move around. Now, they also have mites living on them. I think it's amazing how all these different insects have little parasites and insects of their own living on top of them and in between the legs. But they are so small, they're very difficult to see just with the naked eye. That's where the microscope is quite handy. Going over some lichen. And not even bothered with us at all. VM actually spotted this. It was very well spotted. Now you can hear the go-away birds alarming. And you obviously heard them. Now I have got a surprise for you. Now they've stopped calling now. And the reason why they're shouting like that is indeed because Tingana is sitting in the drainage below me. But at the moment, none of us can see him. So we're waiting patiently for him to come out, and we'll just sit here until he does decide to show face. He's right in the drainage there. Well done to Mike who found him. But unfortunately, it's almost impossible to see him. Right, but what we're going to do is we're going to hang tight, and as soon as Tingana decides to show his face, well then, of course, we'll show him to you. But let's go back across to Byron with the ever lovely Nkuhuma.
We're still following these lions. They're moving around a bit. The lioness is actually moving around, and the male is just following her. He doesn't want her to get out of his sight. Look how quickly he's moving there. Let's just see where they are going. I don't want to lose them either. It's exciting that Tayla's potentially got Tingana, that big male leopard, around. So I'm sure when she does see him, she'll let us know. I know he did have a kill just to the east of our boundary for a few days, and that's why we probably didn't see too many leopards around, because they're all feeding on something. This is interesting. These lions are walking right towards camp. Could be interesting if there's someone walking around. Christina has asked a question, and I'm just going to try drive around here quickly to keep up with them, get onto the road. Christina has asked, do the lionesses ever follow the males like the males follow the lionesses? Not really, Christina, to be honest. Let's watch. I'm just going to try. Brian. Yeah. And they've walked right past camp. Let's just see. So Christina, no, I've never seen. Oh, hang on. They're walking right down towards our camp too, which is interesting. I've never seen lionesses follow the males like this. It's usually the males that follow the females, and mainly because the males are the ones that want to mate with the females. Let's just see. The male's probably going to cross in front of us soon. There he goes. Look at that. Look at that. Drive around here quickly. Hold on. So Christina, as I was saying, I've not seen lionesses follow males like this. Oh, look here. This is interesting. There's some waterbuck and bushbuck straight ahead. And the bushbuck just ran off. There goes the waterbuck. I'm just trying to see where they've gone. Just lost them briefly. It's very thick through here and between the two camps. I'm just going to drive down here. This is actually the access to one of the lodges to Tayla. Let's just see if we can work out exactly which direction they're going before we lose them, because we won't be able to follow them through here or through the camps. They obviously know this territory a lot better than we do. They know exactly where they can and cannot walk. Okay, there's the lioness. And the male just through there. I wonder where they're going to go. You know what? I think I might have an idea. While I try to stay with these lions, Taylor's got that male leopard for you.
Well, we don't have him right now. He's got up and he started moving. So we're going to have to try and head around again. I'm going to do some off-roading, lots of off-roading. Now we need to be careful here because there's lots of plants that are very slow growing. Open for us. Now you can hear that the birds are not happy with him at all. The drongo is shouting. But he is a beautiful boy. Full belly by the looks of it. We got a bit of a limp? No, I think he just stood on something. But isn't he a lovely cat? Now we're going to try and stick with him, of course. But we know what leopards are like. They like to move along the drainage lines, which can be quite difficult. And like I said, we need to be careful with the route that we pick. But let's not get too far behind him. And also we've got the issue of if he crosses over that drainage line again, we need to try and find a spot to follow him. But it seems as though there's a few vehicles here. So hopefully what we'll be able to do is we'll be able to play leapfrog, and that may help us a little bit. Hey boy. There he is. pausing for just a moment before, of course, he carries on. Now it's going to get very, very thick here. He said he's got a big fat belly at the moment. And I'm hoping what's going to happen is he's going to find a nice, perhaps a tree or somewhere to rest, because we're going to get ourselves into some trouble if he disappears down into this part. There's lots of tamboti around. Okay, well, let's try and let's see. Wait, please go the other side. I actually am hoping that he crosses the drainage and perhaps goes towards the open. Let's just sit, because he seems to also be a little bit uncertain of his plans today. You can just see him there, just see his spots. Now see how he's turning, he's going back the other way. Looks like he's going to cross. Let's have a look. Yep, going through the drainage. No, now he's walking in the drainage. Now that's a good place to walk for a leopard. It's nice and soft, so they almost walk completely silently. Maybe he's going to go off and do a little bit of a territorial patrol, and that's sort of why he's on the indecisive at the most. Indecisive. Sorry, my goodness, my words today are just not coming out. But you can just see him there. He's stopped and he's paused for a moment. Maybe he's smelling something. It's quite difficult to see. Right, but as we lose him through this drainage, we're going to try and get another view of him. Let's go back across to Stef.
Today seems the day of the locust, there's no doubt. Have a look at that sand grain that is busy moving over there. That is a locust, one of the stone or sand locusts. And just have a look at that coloration. This is a bare patch of sand, and this locust is virtually invisible on this bare patch of sand. There you go, you can see him moving. You got him, Dave?
Yeah.
Just have a look at that. How does something get that camouflaged? That is unbelievable. Joined by another one just in front of him, a yellow one. Yeah. Now, Mary-Ann, you've just asked a question all the way out of Arkansas, where you want to know what's the difference between a grasshopper and a locust. Mary-Ann, essentially they're the same thing. Locusts tend to swarm and be a little bit bigger. Grasshoppers tend to be solitary and on their own. So this could technically be called a grasshopper, although grasshoppers and locusts are the same thing. It's just that it's a term used for grasshoppers that are much larger generally, and also that swarm. These don't swarm. There's a stone locust or stone grasshopper. And then what actually got us down at this level, where we managed to find this unbelievable creature, is this dung pile that we're at. We came looking for some wildebeest, and have a look at this copper dung beetle that is on this pile of dung right here. Isn't that unbelievable? He's busy doing his dung ball. At the moment, it's just that tiny round piece of dung that his back legs are standing on. That's his dung ball. He seems to lose interest every now and again. But just have a look at those colors, that coppery color, the red on the back feet, green. And he changes color as well. Where are you going? You've now left your dung ball. Easier, easier. Now, James, you've asked me if there's any insects capable of regenerating lost limbs. I'm just trying to think, James, to be quite honest. I know lizards, octopus, limbs. Do spiders regenerate lost limbs? I don't know if when they molt they may have another limb. I doubt it though, James. I'm just trying to think. That's got me stumped this morning, you know. I don't actually know of an insect that could regenerate a limb. You're welcome to help me out there, James, if you want, or anybody else that's busy watching and has an interest in helping us out with that question. So the question is, do insects regenerate limbs similar to an octopus, or how a lizard would regrow its tail that it's shed? And you're welcome to send those answers through to questions@wildearth.tv via email, or using the hashtag Safari Live, and I'll share it if we get any answers, at least anyway. I'll share it with everybody, as many as we can, before the end of the show or this afternoon. But just in this bare patch of sand, I mean, if you have a look, this piece of sand we're lying in is pretty similar to every other piece of sand that we've got at the moment. Only right here we've got that little locust. Oh, had that little locust. Here he is back again. He's got quite good eyesight, I must be honest with you. He's come down to the end of the stick. Here he's standing at the end of the stick, looking exactly like a piece of... he's busy camouflaging himself behind a mountain, relatively speaking. There he is at the end of the stick there, Dave. Amazing, eh? Now, can you imagine if leopard could dress themselves up in bits and pieces of the bush they're walking around in? How camouflaged and terrifying they would be. Obviously, this locust lives on patches of vegetation where no other locust can, and that would be in these sparsely grassed areas. And because he lives and utilizes this specific niche that other locusts can't, he needs to be that camouflaged so that predators who are relying on their sight to see movement don't find him. So what this grasshopper will do, invariably use that very good eyesight to jump into a new patch of sand and stay dead still, and therefore avoid detection. But I would imagine that they do exactly the same thing to get to new food sources, is they jump into an area where there's some grass, and would then stay very still and eat that grass, avoiding detection from any aerial predators that way. So I would imagine that they live here all the time, you'd find lots of these types of grasshoppers living in this particular area. I would imagine that if we start looking around here, we probably find a whole lot more than just this one, and probably a whole lot more colors as well. Just unbelievable. He's here again at the end of this. Now, James, you've asked me if we get locust swarms in South Africa. We absolutely do. For locusts to swarm, though, there needs to be a specific set of conditions that sort of need to happen in sequence. So we do get these swarms of locusts from time to time. You know, every year out here, something new is in abundance. And sometimes it's locusts, and sometimes it's flies, and sometimes it's these tiny little beetles, and at other times it's spiders. We're just waiting in anticipation of what it's going to be this year. Last year's summer was characterized by just massive amounts.
So there's a lot happening this morning. I'm trying to see where this male and female lion have gone to. We have lost them. They've given us a slip. They walked straight between the two camps. They literally walked behind the DRC where we stay. If James was here, he would have had a wonderful view of them from his window. But I'm not sure where they've gone now. We're trying to drive around and have a look. It's very thick, and for us to get through, we've had to take a road right around. But it's too soon to panic, as I always say. Let's just keep a good look out for them. Still a lovely cool morning, which is great. So they're probably going to move around for a little bit longer until it starts warming up, but I do think today is possibly going to get fairly hot again. I think this cloud cover may burn off as the sun gets a little bit higher. Let's just have a look here. It's amazing how these animals can just disappear just as quickly as we found them. This is going back round towards the front of Vuyatela camp. No sign just yet. What was that? Squirrel. Tricky at times working out, and we can never be 100% certain which direction these animals move in. I mean, you can get an idea. We thought they'd go behind the DRC where we stay, and we drove there and we saw them. We saw as they came through, they walked right behind us, and then they moved through a dense thicket. We obviously couldn't drive there between the two camps, and now they've just disappeared. But we may find them again. As these lions are walking a little bit and then they'd lay down again, so they may do that. So we just got a question, so I couldn't copy that name properly, but the question was, is the entrance to the camp open all the time? That's Light, I believe. Light sent us the question. Light, yes. Our gate is open all day, so if the lions really wanted to, they could walk straight in. Any animal can. But generally these animals, they can pick up the smell of the people and the noise, so they'll try and avoid that area. They won't necessarily just wander in there during the day. At night, it's possibly a different story. And then they may walk through, and we've had lions and leopards and that walking through the camps regularly, even buffalo. So we do have to be careful at night. But during the day, it's unlikely that they'd wander through. It has happened though. I'm not saying it won't happen. In the lodge that I used to work at, we had lions walk through before during the day, in the mornings, but it happens very, very seldom. Just having a good look around here to see where these lions have gone. And I really love when this happens, because it just shows you how quickly these animals can disappear if they want. And it just always, and I always tell my guests, it just shows you how privileged we are when we do get to see them and we do get to spend time with them. Because if these animals didn't want us to see them, we wouldn't have a chance at all. They can disappear so quickly. But let's see, they may be just around the corner somewhere here. Oh, there's some, looks like some nyala and bushbuck around here. Nyala and impala, so I doubt these lions have walked through here. They look very relaxed. We're going to continue our search though. We're not going to give up just yet. While I do that, Stef has got some more little interesting insects for you.
Welcome back to the bushwalk, and sorry for dropping you away just now so suddenly. It is a very difficult thing, a very fine thing getting this show to you from the middle of nowhere, and particularly when we're on foot. So thank you very much for your patience, but what we have in picture there for you is something that we see often but very rarely witness, and that is the building of a termite mound. You're looking at some termites, worker castes, which are using bits and pieces of mud, cellulose, undigested wood, and their own saliva to grain for grain increase the wall height of their termite mound. This is a fairly new colony, it looks like. The mound is tiny, barely a finger's width. Alright, we've got some action happening with some lions. We'll catch up with you in a bit.
just found them, everyone. Just where I said there's impala and the nyala are. And the lioness, see the nyala just off to my right. And the lioness is stalking. She's lying flat against the bushes, against the thicket line. And there's a nyala walking towards them. This could get very exciting, everyone. Look how close they are. The nyala's just over here. And they still haven't seen the lions. I've kept my distance a little bit. I don't want to disturb them. Let's see what happens. Oh, this nyala's walking straight towards him. Wow, this is exciting, everyone. This is so exciting. But you see what the lioness is doing? She's hoping that they walk a little bit closer so she can ambush them. It's not like she's really well hidden. She may decide to burst out of there if they turn their backs or if they carry on walking away from her. Let's see what happens. I think one of the nyalas just spotted the lioness. Let's see. I just saw her lift her head very quickly. We may get an alarm call. Let's see what happens. Also, these nyala are just in quite a dense little area. Do you see that lioness would have to break her cover? Oh wow, look, 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 watch the lioness. There's a little baby nyala right next to her. Watch us, watch us. Oh, it's just too slow. I don't think she actually saw that little nyala. Wow, that was lucky. That was so lucky. See, she was focused on the adults. She didn't see that baby nyala come out the bush right next to her, very, very close to her. It's almost like she got a bit of a fright before she actually went for it. Gee, that was close. Amazing. That was really amazing. And you see she had to clear some branches and stumps over there. So that's why she couldn't really break into full speed. It was a bit tricky for her. But how incredibly still was she lying? I'm surprised that they didn't actually see her there. But such a pity. I mean, that little nyala is very, very lucky. It came out and that lioness was completely fixated on the adults and just didn't see that baby nyala. So that was very close, but very lucky for the nyala. Wow, that was exciting. But that little nyala would have been a quick snack for these two lions. They probably would have finished that within 20 minutes or so. It was not a very big nyala at all. Still a small baby. See, they're just carrying on moving through this thick bush at the moment. A lot of tree stumps and that around. We wouldn't be able to follow them through there, but the road does bend. And we may get them coming through on the other side again. It's just going to have a good look and see which direction they go. So, and while they're walking through here, the whole time they're looking around if is there any potential prey that they may try and catch. But what I find so interesting is that those nyala didn't alarm call. Excuse me, sorry. those nyala didn't alarm call. They literally got a fright, saw the lion come out, and they just ran. I think purely because they didn't have time to alarm call. So there was no chance of giving that bark, which the nyala do give. It was just we need to get out of here, let's run. And off they went. So interesting behavior, very interesting. But that was amazing, that was very exciting, wow. Alright, so they're moving through this thick area again. I'm going to try head around and see if we can't follow them a little bit longer. While I do, let's head back to Stef and see what he's got.
How lucky are we today with the sightings we've been having? I mean, just incredible. And another amazing thing is, of course, the dung beetles, which have started to increase in number and increase in their tempo, at least anyway. And we're starting to see a lot of those big plum-colored dung beetles. And right here at the base of my finger, we've got a plum-colored dung beetle which has, or in the process of burying his dung, which you don't often see. We quite often see dung beetles rolling their balls and dung beetles making their balls, but so often we don't see how they bury their balls. So this dung beetle, plum-colored dung beetle, is now underneath that ball, and he's softening up the soil underneath the ball itself and basically drawing it in right from the bottom. Isn't that amazing? So there's a dung beetle underneath there. Inside this ball, that dung beetle will lay an egg, and that dung ball will then be buried. Now, Virginia, all the way from Kentucky, you've asked me if these dung beetles you only use herbivore dung or if they will use carnivore dung. Virginia, it depends on the dung beetle, to be honest. You do get dung beetles that specialize in the dung of carnivores. These particular plum-colored dung beetles, and I'll show you an example of one in a second, these particular dung beetles, they only utilize herbivore dung. So you only find them on herbivore dung. We don't find them on carnivore dung. And the dung beetles that specialize in carnivore dung, I'll be honest with you, I don't touch with my hands. Like, I know touching something that makes a living eating dung and burying it like this, you shouldn't touch anyway, but they smell like you don't even believe. They will leave a taint on your hands that not even gasoline will get off. So I try not to touch them too much. Now, while we're busy watching this, this insect or this dung beetle bury this ball, I also just want to say thank you to Siberia Zumi, who a little bit earlier on sent through some information regarding insects growing their limbs back. And that, Siberia, you believe that scorpions can actually regenerate limbs, particularly their pincers or their appendages in the front of their body. So that's interesting. I've never heard of that myself before. It's quite possible. I mean, there may be some feasibility in that. I'll keep an eye out and see if we find any one-clawed scorpions. I think that'll answer it. If there's no one-clawed scorpions around, then the answer to that question probably is feasible yes. Now have a look how quickly this is gone. It's disappeared. Now, Karen, you, all the way from Texas, you've also sent through an answer about the regeneration of insect limbs. You said the giant mantis can also regenerate limbs. That's interesting, Karen. I mean, a mantis being able to regenerate a limb. I've seen lots of mantises missing limbs before. I've never seen a mantis missing one of its pincer limbs before, but definitely legs. And you're saying that you have some information about them regenerating their limbs. So, you know, awesome. I think that's incredible. I haven't seen it myself out here, but you know, there's so much that we don't know about the insect kingdom. There's so much that people observe and that we see on shows like this, and that is not documented in books. So quite possible, you know. And I just have to say thank you very much for sending through all these bits and pieces of information. If you want, you can email them through to questions at wildearth.tv, where you got your resources from. I'd love to read through that when we get back home and to breakfast this morning. Now, this dung beetle is all but disappeared, or this dung beetle definitely had disappeared, but the dung ball is all but disappeared. It'll carry on going a little bit deeper, probably about a hand span into the ground, maybe as much as 2 hand spans into the ground, and then she'll lay her egg on that dung ball, climb out and carry on with her day. But that effectively has ended this particular, us seeing this particular dung ball. I want to show you what a plum colored dung beetle actually looks like, and for that we're actually going to go back to the dung pile that ball came from. Now, where you're standing now is where that dung beetle rolled that dung ball from. It's probably about 5 yards away. They're called telecoprids because they roll it away. But come and have a look over here. This is the last little bit of dung is being fought over by these 2 dung beetles. That is a plum colored dung beetle. You can see that it's got the coloration of a ripe plum, frantically moving from dung pile to dung pile. It's quite a large one. That's about as big as they get. Oh, another one there. What's happening? Go back to the original pile. Not too much dung. I think he's busy looking for more. You can see how they're using those paddles to pat that dung down. Every now and again, looking up to orientate themselves on the sun. That noise you heard was one of them taking off. They're like little mini helicopters here. And there you can have a look at those flies. I don't know if you saw that fly that just popped in there. So what those flies do is literally hang around these dung beetles and get taken from dung pile to dung pile with these dung beetles. Now, where are you going, buddy? You've now left your dung. I think it's looking for more. Here it comes back into your shot again. Here with his spade out, antennae out. I wonder what he's doing. There's just a frenzy, don't you think? Looks like he's going to take off actually. No, coming back. He's found a little bit more. No, not satisfactory. Racing back to his original pile. Where are you going there, big guy? There we go. You can have a look. That's my thumbnail next to him over there. You can see that he's quite a sizable dung beetle. You don't want to drive into this thing flying into your head if you're driving around. Just have a look at that. Patting the dung into a ball. I don't think there's enough dung here to actually make a ball big enough for this one's satisfaction. Hence this sort of frenzy. Let's see if I put his original ball close to him, if he'll utilize it. There he goes. Let's see. There we go. Now, Laura, you've asked me how do they get the dung or the egg inside the ball if they've already rolled it. Laura, they've got an ovipositor, although it's quite small, and I'm under the impression that they don't necessarily lay their egg in the center of the dung ball. I've got a feeling they lay it just on the outside of the dung ball, and when it hatches, the larvae digs to the middle of the dung ball and starts to eat the dung out from the center. So it's not necessarily that the egg is in the center. I think the egg is just on the outside or maybe just below the surface of the dung. The larvae then crawls into the middle of the dung and starts to feed. Now that's quite interesting. I gave this dung beetle the original dung ball that he was working on. I gave him that one, and he's now almost totally incorporated that dung ball into this one. Isn't that incredible? Let's see if we give him a bit more. And give him a little bit more. He must think it's Christmas. We're gonna stay with this guy and see when he stops accepting dung from us, and see how big we can actually get this dung ball. Maybe if we start ferrying in dung from all over the place, we can get him to build a soccer ball for us. In the meantime, we're gonna send you over to Tayla. He's got an update for you on something.
So we're in a little quarry at the moment, And we've got a couple of warthogs who are actually very relaxed with us, which is a surprise and quite refreshing to see at the moment. And I think they've actually chosen a very, very good spot in here. You can see all the lovely green grass that I think all the other animals have missed. So well done, little warthogs, on finding a buffet for yourselves. Now, I'm sure you were hoping to see Tingana back on screen, but unfortunately, he doesn't want to be seen today. I think he's quite full and quite tired of the vehicle, so he's gone and laid in the middle of a drainage line, which none of us can get view of him, so we'll just leave him until perhaps he decides to come out again. There the piggies go. But isn't that lovely that they're not running away for us, and we're having a spectacular sighting of them. And you can see that all the females are very fat at the moment. Those bellies are starting to get quite round, and that's exciting because we know that that means they're going to be little piglets soon running around. And hopefully we'll see lots of piglets. But I reckon it's normally towards the end of October, beginning of November, that we start to see the piglets. They're usually the first ones to have babies of the season, other than the birds. So that'll be quite exciting to watch and wait, and off they go, casually strolling away. Now I think what we're going to do now is we're going to try and find a spot and see if we can get hold of Arathusa and see what's happening on that side. Here we go. Let's get out of this quarry though very quickly. And we'll go back onto the main road. And just reverse out of here. Right. It's such a nice day today. I'm really hoping though, with all this humidity coming through, it's going to get some rain. Wyatt, you're wanting to know this morning if there are any other protected areas other than, of course, the Great Kruger area, the most famous of them all. We're quite lucky. There are actually quite a few of them scattered around all over South Africa. Quite a few national parks. One from where I'm from, actually, called the Addo Elephant National Park, which is down on the southeast coast of South Africa. That's quite a big place. And of course, not only do you have these national parks, but it's now become a big trend in South Africa, especially where there are areas that were heavily farmed. So for instance, I can use the Eastern Cape, so Port Elizabeth, around those areas, and those types of areas which were heavily farmed by the settlers. They used to grow pineapples and chicory and all that thing, so you can imagine they sort of cleared all the natural vegetation and destroyed the land. So what's happening down there, and I think it's a great movement, is the people that were once farming are now selling off all their crops, and they're actually trying to restore the land, letting the land sort of sit for 5 or 7 years or so, let that natural vegetation pop up, and then they're introducing the indigenous animals that were once in that area and turning it into game reserves, really private, smaller game reserves. So I think that's an amazing initiative that everybody is doing, rather going back that way. So there's plenty of them all over not just in, of course, South Africa, but all over the continent, in fact. I'll have a look at a couple impala, try not to scare them with my brakes. There they go. A little hop, skip, and a jump over that little log there. Hello, mister. Now we're seeing a lot of these youngsters. There we go. I was just about to say that these youngsters have been sparring at the moment, but we don't often get to see them. No, don't go behind the termite mound. There we go. They're pushing and shoving each other. And of course, this is nothing serious. This is them just practicing, almost like how we see the lion cubs playing. These gentlemen over here, they need to practice for one day when they're really going to fight for the rights to get into the breeding herds. Isn't that lovely? All of them wagging their tails. The little flies must be out. But let's see if we can get hold of Arathusa. And while I try and do that, let's go back to Byron with those lions.
So they've just gone and laid down and they're resting a little bit. It's starting to warm up, even though it's still very cloudy. The temperature has increased a bit and it is warming up nicely. I think because there's no sun, they're still out in the open, which is great, but they are resting. They've probably been moving around a lot during the evening. And so it's great to be able to sit with them. Such an exciting moment earlier with these lions, the lioness almost catching that little nyala, that young nyala. Very, very close. But I think I think it really caught her by surprise. Byron and I were actually discussing it afterwards, and I think what happened was that lioness was so focused on the adult nyala that she didn't see the little baby nyala come through the thicket just next to her, and that little one ran for its life and luckily made it away. Look at the large paws of that male, even just cleaning them, but they are massive. Dustin has asked a question: would the lionesses whip their tails around if they wanted to mate? So, Dustin, usually what happens is, I have seen lionesses present themselves at times to males. They'll go and rub up against the males and lie in front of them. They do move their tails slightly, but I don't think it's a signal to say, let's mate. I think it's more a case of them getting up and active, and then they walk and present themselves a little bit to the male, and then the male will mate with them. But I don't think it's a sign that they actually flick their tails to instigate mating. They do move their tails around though. Usually the tails, one of the main communications that we receive from lions via their tail is when they are aggressive. The tails are flicked from side to side very, very quickly, and that shows that they are aggressive and we shouldn't approach any closer. With the mating though, I haven't seen a lioness just sit up, flick her tail around, and the male then get up and mate. But she will present herself and go and rub up against him or walk in front of him and lay down right in front of the male. And that's usually a sign that she wants to mate. So Jerry in Canada has asked us a question about the lions and with that male getting up and following that lioness the whole time. Jerry would like to know, is it protective or possessive? So Jerry, it's a bit of both almost, because the male is protecting the female because he is interested in mating with her, but it's also possessive because he doesn't want other lions or other males coming in and trying to mate with her while he is around. So when lions are mating like this, they'll stay together. Well, I say like this, we haven't seen them mate yet, but usually when males and females are, if they're together like this, chances are they're either in the beginning stages of mating or the male is trying to see if the female is receptive to mate with. So, Jerry, what will happen is the males will, or the male that pairs with this female will stay very close to her. He won't let her out of his sight because he doesn't want other males, even though it's his own brothers, he doesn't want them coming in and mating with her. So, it's very interesting behavior, but they stay with them. And when they do start mating, they'll mate for anywhere between 3 days and about a week, 3 to 5 days usually. And in the beginning they mate very frequently, and then as the days go on, the period between each mating session becomes a lot longer, until eventually the lioness will return to the pride and the male will carry on doing his own thing, patrolling his territory, possibly meeting up with his brothers or even females from other prides. There's a woodpecker knocking in the distance. I wonder if you can hear it. It's a bearded woodpecker, and does that, and that's its territorial call. Yeah, knock, 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 tuk, 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 tuk. And it does that to alert other woodpeckers, other bearded woodpeckers, that this is its territory. It's a wonderful sound. We're going to sit with these lines a little bit longer. While I do that, let's see what Stef has got in his walk.
Not up too much. We've been sticking around this this dung pile that we were with a little bit earlier. For those of you just joining the bushwalk part of today's walk or today's safari, we have been spending time with some multitude of insects that have emerged after the recent rains, and this little bit of sand is all that is left of that dung pile, or that dung ball that the dung beetle was rolling. Rolled it not too far away from here, has now buried it literally in the time since you left us to right now. This little patch of sand is where that dung ball is, and I'm going to see if I can uncover where it actually, how deep it actually is for you. There is the dung ball there. And I've had an epiphany while I've been waiting here for you. I think the lack of male around here is what has made me think this. I don't think that these are brood balls at all, or balls that are meant to have an egg on them. I think they're too small. Also, later on in the season, you get dung beetles that'll build a big one. The female sits on top of the dung, male comes in, they roll off the ball together. I think what this is a feeding ball. So I think what these dung beetles do is they roll a ball of dung as quickly as they can, and that's why we saw that frantic behavior. They then roll the dung ball away and bury it quite shallowly. That is the dung ball there. I'm going to scratch it open with a stick so that you can see that it is actually a piece of dung and not... There's the ball there, there's the dung. And then I think what happened, there's the ball, and the dung beetle should be there. There's the dung beetle. Let's put her dung ball back. And I think what happens is she then buries it, and then they eat it underneath the ground. So burying it gets it away from, and they stop being harassed that way. And they can then eat at leisure, and that would, for me, describe the fact of why it's so small, why they're so frantic, why they don't walk far away from the dung, why they bury it so quickly, and then they don't bury it very deeply, they just bury it quite shallowly. So I think we've figured it out. And then there's also a pull millipede here that I saw when we were busy digging it out there. So there's the first of the season that we're seeing, a pull millipede. Curled up now and made to look like a dung ball, very solid shape in actual fact, and that in fact is a millipede. Isn't that incredible? Let's put it back here where I found it. Here the dung beetle is coming out, look here, emerging, and of course, just to throw my theory straight out of the window, let's see, what are you going to do? Oh no, still burying the dung ball there. You can see it's moving now a little bit over there. I just find all these things absolutely fascinating, you know. There's so much going on here that we don't really understand. We can guess at. I'm sure there's, you know, there's many scientific papers floating around that could explain exactly what's going on. But of course, all for us to discover here and discuss with you in person. Wow, that's been an interesting dung pile. Let me show you exactly what is left of that dung pile. Virtually nothing. This is all that's left of that dung pile we were with a little bit earlier, and no dung beetles are even flying in anymore. So the particles wafting downwind of this particular dung pile have gotten to a number that isn't interesting for these dung beetles anymore, and that probably gives us a good cue to move on and see what other thing we can find in this area. Wow, it's been an epic day today, I must be honest with you. A little bit of everything today while we're at it. And this in an area which for the last couple of months, and I'm talking about probably since Father's Day, since a month before Father's Day or so, has been devoid of much. Been overgrazed, it's been utilized by lots of different animals as a traverse, but nothing. Oh, there's one thing that I did want to show you. Let us go this way. While we were waiting for you to come back to the dung pile, we heard some birds making a funny noise here. And I think what we've got is a fork-tailed drongo or a white-crowned shrike, I'm not too sure which one yet, sitting in a nest. The nest is there, and the bird has moved off now, unfortunately. But let's see what we can see in there. That bird, there's either a baby or an egg inside there at the moment. And I'm just judging from the fact that there's just white-crowned shrikes flying around over here that is a white-crowned shrike nest or a drongo. Let's see. Yeah. Right here. Excuse me, I thought that you had actually seen that. Excuse me for taking so much time to actually show you the nest, but that is the nest in the tree. Excuse me, I didn't realize we weren't looking at that. Sorry about that. But that has been constructed. Doesn't look very solid, to be quite honest with you. And I can hear one of the parent birds busy calling. Let's go to this termite mound quickly and see if I can show you where this bird is. There is the drongo sitting at the top of that tree over there. That is what I think is nesting inside of this nest. That is a fork-tailed drongo with a white-crowned shrike just coming into the picture on the right-hand side, so inconclusive. Lovely. Alrighty, and off we go. See what else we can find over here today. Have a look at this monster termite mound. Alright, we're going to send you over to Byron, who's still with those lions, amazingly enough.
We are indeed still with the lions, and they're still sitting here very, very comfortably and resting. They haven't moved into the shade just yet, and there the male just puts his head down. They seem very happy now. I think they've moved around enough for the morning. Just looks like they've decided it's now time to rest, and we followed them for quite a way. Initially, when we found them, they'd been walking through that quarantine, the clearing, not far from camp. They walked down towards the Vuyatela waterhole, spent some time there, walked back up, walked past the camp, and we're probably about a few hundred meters away from camp now, almost a kilometer, I would say. And they've now decided to rest. So they've probably been walking around for quite a bit during the evening and early this morning, and now it's starting to warm up. The sun is slowly starting to burn off some of this cloud cover. I think I can feel the temperature increasing, and the sun's trying to peek through some of these clouds. This overcast weather. And this is usual weather for this time of year. You get this cloud cover in the morning, and then the sun comes up and starts burning it off, and it's sunny by about 10 o'clock. So I think we may probably leave these lions soon. We've had a wonderful morning with them, very exciting morning watching them trying to hunt. It was very, very close. And I think there's some other people that would like to come and see them too, so we'll allow them to come in, show them where they are, and we'll see what else we can find. Now let me just see where this other vehicle comes. It really is great that we are able to show people the different lions around here, or different animals and sightings. We all share the sightings, which is great. I'm showing them to come in quickly. Oh, even those lioness's paws are massive if you look closely. I mean, they are huge. I would not like to be hit by one of those. So it's been a really great morning following these lions, and it's always wonderful to be able to spend time with them. So we've got a question from Shivam all the way from Toronto, and Shivam would like to know how long do lions actually sleep for during the day? So Shivam, it's a good question, and you can see these lions are resting now. So we need to remember that these lions, or animals generally, don't sleep like we sleep. They do rest, and even though that lioness looks like she's fast asleep, she's still completely aware and alert of what's going on around them. But they have been known to rest for up to 20 hours a day. So they can rest for long periods of time, especially in the heat of the day. They don't like walking around too much, and they are mainly active at night. But lions have been known to rest up to about 20 hours a day. But it all depends on the area that they're in, when they've eaten, are they hungry, do they need to find food, water. So there are a lot of factors that go into it. Alright, so we're probably going to leave these lions now. I know Stef has got some more little interesting critters to show you.
We don't seem to be moving far today at all. You left us at this termite mound, we're still at this termite mound, and it's because the termites have finally opened up their chimneys and allowed the hot air, well, allowing hot air to escape, which is telling me a couple of things. Sorry, there's just flies buzzing all over the place. Telling me a couple of things. It's telling me that the temperature, the ambient temperature, is hot enough now that these termites need to open up their ventilation shafts. But that, of course, lets termites become vulnerable. These ventilation shafts have to be maintained, and that means lots of workers, and lots of workers means lots of soldiers. And when you come and stick your head into one of these shafts and you create a bit of a disturbance, you actually get the most unbelievable reaction. So have a look at them. I'm now tapping lightly on the termite mound. You can see them shaking their head. I'm now going to blow. And these are all soldiers that are fairly young. They're expendable. Cannon fodder, I think, is a word that I'd like to use. The older soldiers, they can be up to 5 years old, are really enormous. And there's one here. I'm going to see if we can lure him out. The older, the bigger soldiers, they tend not to come to the edges like this one. I'm going to try and get this one out here and show you one of these 5-year-old soldiers, what they look like. There's one there. And here's one here. Oh, he fell back in. There's one there. Can you see him there, David? The end of the grass? Yeah. Have a look at how much more massive he is. Now, these are the ones that if you were to live on termites, these are the ones that you would want to eat. That head is just full of muscle, and these termites, the muscles that they have in their head are incredibly rich in insect protein. So about 100 grams of these termites, you can roast them, you can just eat them raw, you can boil them, you can do whatever you want, is equal to about 300 grams of animal protein. Isn't that amazing? You can literally get all your protein needs from just a few termites every day. Now, I don't want to get my face too close to these guys. They will bite. There's blade-like pincers that they've got there, literally just scythe through skin. Here comes that big guy up here again. There he is there. Now, he's been alive and in this termite mound for at least 5 years to get to that size. Can you point him out again? Let's see if we can point him out for you again. There he is over there, coming up to the edge here. That's him. Let's see if he allows us to, if he comes right to the edge. I doubt he'll come too close to the edge. They tend not to want to sacrifice themselves, but he's coming. There he goes. Have a look at that. Just have a look at how massive he is. Even an idea, here's my finger. Don't get him too close, but there's my finger for some size comparisons. You can see that he's easily, well, don't want to be too close to these guys. They can nip you quite badly. Interesting, eh? And just the hot air coming out of this chimney at the moment is just incredible. Between 27 and 30 degrees centigrade. Now, David in Napa, you've asked me, are termites not nocturnal? David, generally they are nocturnal, absolutely. But when they've opened up a column like this, or when there's been some disturbance here, quite often what happens is they will send the soldiers out, not the workers, to try and secure the area, for lack of a better word, while the workers frantically try and rebuild whatever damage has been done. When we got here this morning, there was a whole bunch of soldiers just like this at the moment at the entrance here, and I think what's happened is some birds have been feeding on these termites, and they sent the soldiers up to try and chase the birds away. The birds will pick off the workers, but as soon as there's too many soldiers there, most of the birds, most of the smaller birds at least anyway, will move off. So I think that's exactly what happened. We got here after the birds had moved off, but while the soldiers were sort of defending last night's work from the soldiers, and I think that's exactly what has happened over here. I tell you, these places are just a never-ending source. We're going to see, oh, hang on, what have we got here? Yeah, there's a bit of a crime scene. Obviously a bird has caught a scorpion and has fed on the scorpion. That's all that's left of this scorpion's pincers. So it would have been like that. But the rest of the scorpion, this is where his head and the rest of his body would have come along, has been eaten by something. And definitely these scorpions these are burrowing scorpions, and I think that this one was probably picked up by a bird and then moved to this termite mound and then fed on, and this is what's left. And then the detritus was then cleaned out by probably ants or something. But have a look, you can see right inside that pincer as to where the muscles are inside that pincer. It even has some of those very sensitive trichobothria hairs that you can see. Those hairs can sense air currents and pressure, and that's how the scorpion basically sees its world around it. These are like its eyes. They generate a picture in its mind, and especially of what it's feeling. And you can see that the density of those hairs around the inside of its pincers is just amazing. Quite powerful. That's my fingernail there. You can see that this is a fairly large pincer. Now, Anna Marie, you wanted to know if termites can draw blood if they bite me. Absolutely, Anna Marie, termites can draw blood. I don't quite know if you're setting that as a bit of a challenge to see if I can bleed from one of these termites. They absolutely will draw blood. Those pincers at the front of their mouths are absolutely sharp. They pierce the skin and will draw blood. Interestingly enough, you can actually use these termites as a type of a suture, a stitch. I've never done it before myself. They've always let go. But what you can do is, in particular those large termites, you pinch a wound closed. So in other words, this scar that I have, you'd pinch the wound closed, and then you would let the termite bite through that pinched wound, and then you'd break the body off. And what that does is it apparently locks the jaws of that termite, and you can use them as a row of stitches. I've seen it done before on television myself. I haven't done it myself. I suppose I need to cut myself and then come and dig open a termite mound, and we'll see exactly how we do it. For now, I'm not going to do that, if you don't mind, Anna Marie. I cut myself enough without having to worry about doing it without some motivation. It will definitely happen again, probably not in the too distant future, and then I'll suture myself on walk for you. David just descending that termite mound with us. All right, and we're going to carry on observing all these little nooks and crannies that we have this morning. I've no doubt we're going to pull out one or two more things for you. In the meantime, we are going to send you over to Tayla, who's got a surprise for you.
Right, look who we've managed to find as we've come around the corner, or actually not around the corner, we've come deep into Arathusa, and this is Salahashe, if I'm not mistaken, which is quite exciting. Oh, hang on, wait, it could be another female. I want to double check for myself, because I've just heard this guide call it another leopardess. Then maybe we need to reposition and have a look at her face. Let's quickly do that, because I wonder if it's perhaps not going to be the Nyala / young Ingrid Dam female sort of confusion which we've been having over the past couple of days. Let's confirm this. Let's see if she's perhaps going to look this way, so we can have a little look-see. No, she doesn't seem to mind us just yet. I'm going to very quickly run obviously to see if we can see that sort of the young Ingrid female. Take a just this is better spot. No, don't look the other way, girl. Right, let's see. It's definitely a female leopard, but I will tell you in a moment as to who this actually is. Oh, no, it's very difficult to see. But we can see those smudges. Can you see that? That on the left-hand side of her face, she has got 4 spots. And if I remember correctly, this is indeed the young Ingrid Dam female. We'll have a double check though, because I have a photo on my phone, so I'm going to open the picture very quickly of her that I saved of her, and then we'll be able to confirm it. Let me find it while you have a look at this lovely leopard. Obviously, ideally we'd like to see that injury on her rump, and then we can take it from there. Right, let me quickly find it for you. I think it's all the way down at the bottom. Give me 2 seconds. Come back, photo, where are you? But you can see how she's positioned herself quite nicely up in this tree. And this is why it also makes me think if it is the young Ingrid Dam female, because we know how she was sort of lying like this the last time we saw her. And I can confirm, I brought up the photo that I took of her, and I'm just having a look at the spots on the left-hand side of her face. She's got 2 spots, then 1 above the second spot if we're starting from the nose, and then 2 spots that are joined as a smudge almost, and that makes it 1. So this is indeed not the Nyala female, or Salahashe, of course. This is our lovely girl who we're just starting to see. The young Ingrid Dam female, who's quite young. She was born in, I believe, 2014, around September. So that makes her just over 2 years old. Isn't she a beautiful girl? And I think this is quite a lovely position that she's dangling from. I may have to chat on the radio every now and then, just to keep in touch with the Arathusa guides. Unfortunately, it's actually just me here in the sighting at the moment, so I've got no one to handle the radio for me. But isn't this incredible that Tingana wasn't wanting to play games and sort of show his face to us this morning, but thankfully we've managed to find this beautiful leopardess. And I'm glad to see that she's well. I know a few of you were concerned about the injury that she had on her rump. I think you can sort of see it there. I think that's sort of it. You can see where, you see where her tail sort of joins with her bum, if you can sort of see that. You see how the hair looks like it's it looks like it's been licked quite regularly, and I don't know if you can see, the hair looks almost like it's got saliva stuck to it. Now, that would be an indication that there is probably a wound there. You know how the cats, if they do have a wound they can reach, they will constantly groom it to try and keep it clean. Now, obviously, we will be able to see it if she moves her bum around a little bit, but we'll just have to wait patiently. But I think that spot pattern that she has on the left side of her face is quite unique, with those two spots that have joined to sort of make one. And I have to say thank you again to Crystal and all her hard work with helping and doing some investigating and helping us successfully identify this leopard and come sort of to terms with what really is going on and not misidentify the cats. Isn't this lovely? It's a pity we've got a bit of a grey sky as a background, but it seems as though the sun is trying to poke through, and maybe we will get a clear sky. The wind is a little bit of a breeze, not too much. And she doesn't look too thin either. It's quite difficult to see her stomach, but it looks like it's bulging slightly from the side, so maybe she's had something to eat. I'm also just scanning the tree now to see if I can see any old carcasses. It doesn't seem that way. It seems as though she's just perched herself up here to have a little Thursday morning siesta. Now, no, Dark Tranquility this morning is wondering if this lion, it's not a lioness, this leopardess is going to get a name soon. I'm hoping so. I think she's old enough now. I know she's just over 2 years old, so I suspect that she would perhaps get a name. And maybe once they officially sort out the confusion of the misidentification of this leopardess and Nyala, then will they give her a name. But it's something to look out for, and that will probably have to be addressed in the up and coming weeks. Now, I did see some impala dashing past, but in the far distance they've disappeared now. She doesn't seem to have spotted anything though. I think she's in dreamland at the moment. Now, remember the other afternoon, a few afternoons ago, we were quite fortunate to come across the two cheetah brothers. And there was a couple of questions on how do you tell the difference between a cheetah and a leopard. And we looked at the differences of the cheetah, and I think it would be quite a nice opportunity to have a look at a leopard now. Now you can see on their feet and going up towards their hind quarters, there are in fact actual spots. But as you go up and slowly make your way around to the rest of her body, you'll see that those spots then turn into rosettes. Can you see that beautiful patterning there? Now this is unique, of course. Jaguars and leopards have these rosettes on them. And then if you go towards her face, you will clearly see that she is lacking those trademark teardrops that sort of run from the corners of the eyes right down towards the mouth that we would normally see on a cheetah. And you can see those rosettes then become spots again around her face. And of course, I think that the patterning by their whiskers is way more prominent than what you see on the other cats. And of course, leopards are a little bit more robust than cheetah. Cheetah are taller, but they seem to be more slight, more slender, well adapted for running fast. You see she's panting quite hard though. She obviously has got a full belly, and with the bit of heat that we're having, she might be feeling a little bit uncomfortable. And not too many birds chirping around either. It's actually very quiet here. And this looks like to be possibly a female marula tree, which is quite exciting that she's sitting in. So remember that fruit that I showed you this morning? Now, this tree will definitely get fruit. I think you can see the leaves all starting to develop now, and there's very little vegetation at the base of the tree, which is actually how I know that it is a female marula tree. Normally you see very little sort of branches and no grass at all almost around the base of female marulas, because they're the only ones that bear fruits. So with all the animals coming around to feed on them, they sort of bulldoze the vegetation over. Now, we've been seeing her sort of all over the show. It seems like she's moving in between the various properties, and I know that Angela and Byron from Missouri is wondering if she's in danger from Karula and her daughters because she's in her territory. Now, you're quite correct in thinking this, Angela and Byron. And she is indeed in a little bit of trouble, and I think that's why she hasn't found a permanent home just yet. She's sort of living in between all the other leopards' territories, but I believe she's been hanging around on Arathusa the last couple of weeks. And then prior to that, I think she spent most of August and September on Elephant Plains, so a little bit further south from where we are now. And I'm sure she'll eventually find a gap, though, somewhere to sort of move in. And it's quite unusual that she's come so far north. I mean, her mother is from Londolozi, the northern sectors of Londolozi. Normally what happens with the leopards is that they do open up territories. They'll chase other females out so that their daughters can have a spot right next to them. But it seems as though that didn't happen. Possibly that the density of leopards is just much larger than what it is up here further north, and there just wasn't a spot for her. So it's okay though. It happens occasionally though where they have to move quite far from home. She seems to be doing all right. I think she did have a bit of a battle though with one of the leopards, whether it was Salahashe, Karula, Shadow. I'm not sure who she stumbled into and sustained that injury on her tail. But like I said, it's just a bit raw. It's not a massive gash or anything. I don't think it's causing her too much trouble. And I'm sure she would have learned from that experience as well. I think that's the first thing that happens with leopards, is that become quite blasé because they've lived their entire lives with their mothers and they had mom to protect them, almost like what we see with the lions and their little cubs. They think that they're invincible until they have to go out on their own. And then, well, I'm sure that every lion, especially the male lions, have at least one run-in and realize and get put back into their place. And I think that's what happened with this leopard. Isn't that a beautiful shot of her tail just dangling down from that tree? And that's always my favorite part of a leopard, when they're attempting to stalk or listen out for something to potentially hunt, is how that tail twitches. And I always describe it, it's like their brain is thinking. Now, I very quickly just want to update this sighting. There's still one mobile lock with Mafazi Ingwe. We're sort of halfway between second windmill and Ndlela. She's Lalapanzi Pazulu Hlahla. Just quick. Jamie, are you talking to me? You're welcome to make your way straight in. No one else has responded. If somebody else that's closer does, I'll just put you on a standby. Here we go. Sorry, just sorting out that sighting there. Someone else wants to quickly come and have a look at this beautiful leopard, and I mean, you can't blame her. This is what we are always asked for as guides: is can we see a leopard in a tree? And I promise you, it's actually not as common as you think it is. They love to sit up in these beautiful marulas. But sometimes it's so hard to find them, especially if the tree is in the middle of a block and they've leapt over all the roads and not left many footprints behind. Then it, of course, becomes quite difficult. But she's very high off the ground. And at one point she did hear those impalas sort of snorting a little bit. But she didn't really react to it. I think she's got a full belly and is not interested in eating anything currently. Just a gentle breeze in the background. You can see the marula leaves slowly or slightly fluttering. She is well rested. And it's amazing how different leopards like to do different things. Not all leopards like to sit up in trees. I remember down in the south there was one leopard that actually just preferred to be on the ground all the time, and I don't think I ever saw her up in a tree. And then, of course, my favorite leopard, and out of all the leopards that I've ever come across, Lisbon, she was notorious for sitting up in marula trees. And of course, she loved to sit on the termite mounds too. So when you were looking for her, those were the two things you looked for: termite mounds and marula trees. And you were almost guaranteed to find her in one. Now, we've been lucky. We've been seeing so many different leopards. We had a quick view of Tingana this morning. We, of course, have got the young Ingrid Dam female up in the tree. And I know, Sarah, you were asking this morning, how many leopards live in this region? Now, it's quite a big area, but if we talk about the traversing areas that we sort of are allowed to drive on, there's quite a few. I'll probably have to count them all, but let's give it a rough guess. I'm going to say at least about 10, a minimum of 10 leopards. Mainly those are females, and then we see a couple of males every now and then. I suppose actually even more now with all the cubs. I mean, quickly, let's watch her for a bit. I'm going to do a bit of counting of all the leopards that I've seen. Obviously, there's a few that I haven't seen just yet. Well, I'm just thinking straight off of the top of my head, I've already got 11 leopards. And that's the ones that I've seen. Excluding, I added the Anderson male in. I haven't seen him. Plus Salahashe, that's 12. Goodness, there's a lot of leopards. I'm probably missing quite a few. I haven't seen all the possibilities of all the different leopards that occur in this area. But they sometimes don't always just stay in one spot, especially if it's a male. It's not uncommon to see young males coming through looking for potential openings. You know, trying to find an old male that's at the end of his time. That'll be an easy challenge for him to take over. Remember, life is really tough for the male animals, for the male leopards, for the male lions especially. And I suppose for the female leopards too, with them being so territorial. And she can't get comfortable. Well, you should get a bit of elephant dung and take it up there like we saw the lions using yesterday. Apparently, elephant dung is a great pillow to use. This is lovely, though. Right, let's quickly go across back to Byron.
Look at this, everybody. Another cuckoo to add to our list. This is called the Levaillant cuckoo. It used to be known as a striped cuckoo. The new name is the Levaillant cuckoo. You can see that barring under the throat. Black and white cuckoo, very similar looking to the Jacobin cuckoo. But this is the Levaillant. That's wonderful. That's three cuckoos that I've seen in the last 2 days. Oh, there we go. That's a lovely view of it. Oh, fantastic. Some other birds calling around here too. Sounds like the green wood hoopers. But we just really wanted to show you this cuckoo because you don't see them often. And I know a lot of our viewers who are keen birders wanted to see some cuckoos because they've all returned for the summer. These are migratory birds and they've returned for the summer. So it's great to see them. So we've seen the African cuckoo now, the red-chested cuckoo and the Levaillant cuckoo in the last 2 days, which is great. And usually they fly off. They're very secretive birds. So, there we go. Oh, that's lovely. Oh, they just flew down, probably trying to catch all the insects. There we go. Again, Brian's camera work is just amazing. And Elizabeth, I understand this is number 54 for you on your bird list. That's fantastic. That's good. We'll have to try and get that list up quite a bit. Oh, hang on, there's another bird that just flew there. Well, this is great, such a great view of the cuckoo. And there it goes. Lovely. Wasn't that great? A nice cuckoo. Let's carry on and see what else we can find. We've had such a great morning with the lions, and I'm so glad Tayla got another leopard this morning. I'm actually very jealous. I've been looking for leopards. I've been wanting to see a leopard for the last few days. And Tayla's got a glimpse. She had a glimpse of that male this morning, I know, and now another one, which is fantastic. So 2 leopards for her. We had the lions. It's wonderful to spend time and watch those lions this morning. So we might try and do some birding now, I think. Seems to be a lot of birding activity around. We are heading towards Buffelshoek Dam. Who knows, we might get something coming down to drink. As I said, it's warming up a little bit. I thought the cloud cover's burning off, but again, it seems to be coming over again. I don't know. That's why I'm not a weatherman, because I never get it right. Is nice and cool, which makes for a good change. I mean, it's been very hot the last few days. It's lovely to have this cool weather. Now, as I head towards the dam, wonder what Stef has managed to find on his walk so far.
We found the remnants of this wildebeest herd that we have on Djuma. As some of you will fondly know, that we had a whole bunch of babies actually do quite well last year, and in fact it's going to be quite interesting to see how many babies survive this year with the poor grass cover that we've had. It's going to be nice to see how many of these females actually drop young again. I think we had 11 calves last year. They're just moving across this open area. Let's see if we can get a little bit closer to them and see if we can see some of last year's youngsters, which are still in attendance with this herd. Almost swelled the wildebeest population in northern Sabi Sands by double. In actual fact, is I think what it was in the end. Here they are here, and there's the youngsters coming through. Those ones that you just see there in your screen, the smaller of them. Those were the youngsters. Some more adults there in the background. They wouldn't be the ones that have babies just yet. They'll have to wait another year or so before they have youngsters. So it'll just be their moms, really. What's been quite nice to see about these wildebeest is that they haven't really, 1 or 2 have been eaten, but not that many have been preyed upon or have become food for lions over the last few months. I think they've done really well, to be quite honest with you. And I'm hoping that they give birth again this year. In the beginning of December, they give birth on quarantine again, which is always a delight. So we're holding our thumbs. Perhaps that's the next bet that we can have, is on the date that the wildebeest calves will drop this year. We've already had rain, we haven't had the woodlands kingfisher come back yet, but at some point we're going to have the woodland kingfisher come back, as well as having the baby wildebeest come or be born. And let's all hold thumbs that they get born on quarantine. Now, we've just been remarking that the rain that we had a few weeks ago has actually fallen, and a couple of nights ago, has actually fallen in enough volume to cause these creek beds to flow. And what was amazing me is the fact that all this topsoil is now lying in these sandy areas, in these creek beds. I'm just astounded at the amount of topsoil that has come down in these creek beds. You have a look, you can see the water was fairly high. Here's where the water level was, here, or over that, and it brought down this wash of sand with it. It was obviously picked up on the adjacent banks, and that's simply because there's no grass and no roots and no plants holding the sand together. And it's just sort of, it reminds you pointedly of the fact that this drought is going to have such a long-term effect going into the future, probably years. It's going to be really tough to decide exactly how much, well, tough and quite exciting to decide exactly what plant communities thrive and which don't. But on that note, we're going to send you over to Tayla, who's got a spotty cat for you.
Right, we are still with our beautiful leopardess, of course. And she hasn't even moved an inch since you last saw her. She's obviously sleeping away, whatever she was lucky enough to catch. And the last time we saw her, she was actually looking a little bit on the thin side. So it's good to see that since we last saw her, that she has had herself a nice meal. The fact that she turned down the impala that ran past, that was so close, means that she is doing okay. And she's fast asleep though. Very fluffy. Her coat doesn't look as beautiful and immaculate like leopards' coats normally do. And perhaps she just hasn't had enough time out of her busy schedule to get grooming. You hear the black-headed oriole in the distance calling. You can hear some palaces also in the distance. Sounds like a couple of green wood hoopoes. All the birds are starting to come alive now. And this is quite spectacular. Now, she's not a tiny leopard, I don't think. I think she's a good size for her age, but she will get a little bit bigger. It seems as though the leopards don't seem to be particularly large up further north. And I'm not sure the reason for that. Perhaps the territories are smaller. There's not as much food around, which I find very hard to believe. But down in the south, the females, some of them looked like male leopards occasionally if you didn't look at them properly. Especially there was one leopard who unfortunately is no longer alive, but her name was Warthog Wallow, and she was an absolute monster. She was very stocky, a beautiful leopard as well. She used to be my favorite until I met Lisbon. Look at her little tongue sticking out. Can you see that? Is that a tongue poking out there? It looks like it, hey? Just popping between her front teeth. Because she looks like she's almost got one eye open. And I think it's just the way that she's popped her head onto that branch and it's now pulling the skin. The turtle doves have just joined the party too. Now, chatting about my favorite leopard, Lisbon. I know that James is requesting if I've got any special stories that I'd like to share with you about her. Now, I've got many stories about Lisbon. She was such a lovely girl, and she wasn't shy either. She loved the vehicle, she loved the camera. She did move a little bit like Karula. She often liked to move along the drainage lines, but those were her favorite spots to hunt, of course. And I've got so many stories, but I'll tell you one of my most amazing leopard experiences that I've ever had. So, we'd literally just started game drive. We had seen 4 out of the big 5 in front of the lodge at the watering hole. We had lions come down to drink. It was a mating pair that was mating in front of one of the rooms. We had elephants, of course, eating all the plants in the garden. There's also no fences around this lodge, so pretty much everything came right up to it. The watering hole having a lovely drink. And of course, all we were missing was the leopard. And I joked with my guests. I said, I don't think we should go out. We should just sit here and watch everything happen. from the comfort of your rooms and in your swimming pools. And of course then you can sit with a view and watch from a distance, which is sometimes also quite nice. But in the vehicles we hopped, and I said, wouldn't it be so funny if we saw a leopard right now? 10 minutes after I said that, she popped out of the bushes. I couldn't believe it, which was the first time that we didn't come across her when she was either up in a marula tree or on a termite mound, but she came walking out onto the road. And I was very close to the lodge. I don't think I'd even gone a kilometre just yet. And we followed her. Well, then she stopped and she had a little groom for some time. And we thought, oh, great. And I just watched her walking around, marking her territories occasionally, and it really didn't look like she was going to do very much at all. So I said to my guests, I think we'll give someone else a chance. Maybe we'll have a little look. And as I said that, she walked into the front of my vehicle and came past my door and then jumped into a sprint. She just looked up, looked behind my vehicle and started running. Here we go. We've got Madam up here giving a little stretch. Now she's running straight back in the direction of the lodge. Now, the lodge that I used to work at, let's see what you're going to do. Have a nice big cat stretch. Just reposition. That's a nice pose. And as I was saying, the lodge that I worked in, it's almost built into a hill. So it blends in extremely well. And the roofs were quite flat. So we used to have hippos up on the concrete roofs of the rooms. I've seen lions up there. And of course, this leopardess of mine, or my favorite one, she ran on top of the roof and we heard a thud, a big thud. So I said to my guests, hold on, and we quickly raced around, jumped onto one of the fire breaks, and positioning ourselves, we were right on top of the lodge basically. Not we weren't, because I don't think that it could hold the weight of a vehicle. And there she was, dangling a bushbuck off the roof of a vehicle, off the roof of the spa, so the wellness center. I couldn't believe what I was witnessing. This bushbuck, which was grazing on the lawn sort of in front of the lodge, well, it wasn't grazing, so it was just standing on the lawn. It then raced back to try and escape, and then obviously found itself trapped on the roof and didn't know what to do. Well, then the leopard grabbed it, and she managed to grab it by the hindquarters, but now there's about a 5-meter drop or so from the height of the ground towards the roof, and this was happening over the spa. So the spa manager was in the spa. She heard all this noise. She looked outside, and all she could see was a bushbuck dangling from the roof, and she heard growling, and she didn't know, so she just closed the glass sliding door and continued to watch. And Lisbon pulled and shrugged, and what she did next was she tried to pull back the leopard almost, as to try and get a better grip so she could pull it onto the roof, because remember, she just had it by the hindquarters. And I promise this is all true. I'll have to dig up a photo for you, which is on one of my external hard drives, but I have a photo of her holding this leopard. I used to have videos. I'll see if I can find them. She did this one last attempt to pull it back up onto the roof, but she lost her grip, and the bushbuck dived down onto the concrete below. It was almost in a Zen garden, so there were lots of succulents and things, and these big concrete slates on the ground so people could walk on them, landed, and then raced off down to the dam where we were watching all the different other animals. Well, Lisbon didn't even hesitate. She jumped straight off of the top of the roof and down into the Zen garden. She chased after that bushbuck. That bushbuck then obviously was slightly injured. I think it hurt its leg, but it carried on. She then attempted to try and stalk it and take it down for a second time, and that bushbuck got away. How is that for a success story? That's when you know that it is not your day to go. That bushbuck was really, it was pushed to its absolute limits, but it still managed to outsmart this leopard. And that was one of my most spectacular sightings ever. I've never seen anything like that again. It was absolutely incredible. You can imagine to the spa therapist or the spa manager, her name is actually Crystal too, she was so shocked when she saw the bushbuck then drop from the roof, and then of course a leopard in hot pursuit. I think she said it was one of the best things she's seen ever too. Now, Rena from Texas, you'd like to know, how do leopards define or decide how big their territory is? Do they adjust it with the density of other leopards or prey? Now, it depends. Every leopard's sort of territory varies in size. Like I said, males generally have a much larger territory. One male can see up to 5 or 6 females in his traverse, maybe even more than that. whereas the leopardesses tend to have much smaller territories. And it will depend on a number of different things. Of course, availability of food is a big one, because if there's no food in their area, they're going to have to venture out of their territory into someone else's in order to search for food. It's very, very difficult. I don't think there's any exact defining features of a leopard's territory. It's just sort of, can you defend it? And if anybody does come in that you don't want them there, can you push them out? Of course, scent marking they use quite a bit, going around trying to mark as many trees as they can. And then, of course, like I said earlier, of course, mothers like to push other leopards out of their space in order to make room for their daughters. Now you can see there's another vehicle coming into the sighting. She's listening to them now. I'm going to very quickly ask Jamie to take over the sighting, just so I can turn my radio off. Just going to wait for Jamie to come through. Right, while we do this, let's go back across to Stef and see how he is doing on his bushwalk.
Well, we're actually having quite a lot of fun here, to be quite honest with you. We are scouting for a campsite. Now, while that may seem a bit random and irrelevant, at the moment, it will become clearer to you as the days and months progress towards deep summer. And some of you, at least, who watch the show as often as what you do, will absolutely see me making the most of our campsite selection over the next couple of weeks and months, and I look forward to showing you what we can do. In the meantime though, and while we're doing that, we have got this beautiful flower. This is one of the planes, a plane tree, like aeroplane, Plane, and that is its seed pod. Isn't that just wonderful? So it had this tiny little flower, which is now turned into this type of berry that, I wouldn't say infests the tree, but there's definitely a lot of them. You can see there is easily 5 or 6 of them there. Let me move this out of the way. Easily 5 or 6 of them there in my hand. And I think we could probably, let's take one of the more advanced of them and show you a bit of what's going on. The plane tree itself has no uses that I know of, except as a decoration at this time of the year. And these beautiful, they call it a carpel, that fold out and reveal these quite hard seeds. No, they're not that hard. Definitely harder than a berry. I don't even think you can eat these ones. But you can see the leftover flower. That was what was pollinated by the insects a little bit earlier in the year. I say, it just sort of allows us to explore this grove of bushes a little bit better. It's a bit tough for you to get up there. You're going to battle to get up there where Davey is at the moment. Lots of little trees on this isthmus, and we've got. Now, Chris, you've asked, do we have mushrooms here? Chris, absolutely we have mushrooms here. Lots of fungus out here. We have some mushrooms that can be eaten. We even have one of the largest mushrooms in South Africa that grow here. It's a toadstool that literally gets this big as a pillow. They get massive, and local guys out here will quite often harvest them and then sell them on the side of the road to eat from time to time. They'll grow here anywhere when the year is very wet, and around about January to about March is when we see them the most. We also get a bunch of very, very poisonous ones. The inky black cap is one that I know of quite well and quite fondly. We'll be showing some of those to you as well over the years, as the year progresses and into the new season. And then of course in termite mounds after it's rained, and on middens, just a profusion of different fungus. We'll be showing them to you as well. So we're going to be sending you away. We're going to carry on looking for our campsite. We're going to catch up to you a little bit later.
And look at this, everyone, a wonderful ground hornbill, beautiful ground hornbill adult, bright red face. I don't see any others around. We saw some in this area the other day. There were 4 of them. 2.5 adults. I say 2.5 because the one was just reaching that adult color, and then 1 juvenile, which was still very, very dark. But it just seems like this one is alone at the moment. You know what, I do think the others are possibly around here somewhere. It's wonderful to see the ground hornbill because they are so rare and endangered. A very large bird, and it's walking around looking for insects, dung beetles. They love feeding. There we go. See it trying to pick up some insects in that through the scrub. And then also reptiles. They'll also feed on reptiles, even snakes, certain species of snakes. A bit difficult to follow it through there. Look at that big thick beak. It's able to pick around the scrub or the brush looking for food. Look at that. That's exactly what it's doing there now. This is fantastic. It's digging. Might be trying to dig for a little grub or something that's in there perhaps. Or termites. Not that the ground hornbills really feed on termites. They may do, but they generally it's insects and beetles and reptiles that they feed on. I was getting a bit jealous that Tayla got to spend so much time with leopard this morning. So Byron and I have come into the area where they had Tingana this morning, just to see if we can't try find him. He did move through a thicket and they lost him, so we're just taking a chance to have a look around, and you never know, we might be able to find this big male leopard if he has come out. Otherwise, we can always try this afternoon again. And while we continue our search, Tayla is still with that other leopard, that beautiful female. So let's go see what they are up to.
Yeah. So things are coming along. Yeah. How's these baths?
The leopardess, of course, like I've been saying, she has barely moved an inch, just a couple of times to stretch out her legs and have a little scan around, but that tongue is still poking out. And I'm so sorry, Byron, that you were jealous this morning. It was only a brief visual of Tingana, though. We didn't have a good look at him. But I suppose it's better than nothing. But luckily for this lovely lady, she has been posing so beautifully for us. I told you, Byron, that we were going to find leopards today. Shame poor Byron's been desperate to see a spotted cat. I think he's convinced that they don't occur out here in the north, seeing as though they have been evading him since he's arrived. Hopefully one of them will stick around, though, for this afternoon so he can follow up. Now, I'm sure you probably all got into a flat panic wondering who Jamie is. Now, the Jamie that I'm talking about is actually a male. This is actually a guy that I used to work with down in the southern sands, and he has now moved up to the north. So this Jamie is in fact not the female Jamie that you are all so familiar with. Isn't this lovely? Now, there's a couple of vehicles that are dying to come in and have a look at her. Like I said, I don't blame the guests. This is the most iconic thing that you can see of a leopard doing, is up in a tree having a sleep with its legs dangling and tail dangling. So I think we're probably going to make some room in the next couple of minutes. So grab your last screenshots. That's a beautiful angle there of her legs. And then we're going to have to move off and say goodbye to this lovely leopardess. But I don't think she'll go too far. Like I said, she seems to have a full belly. She should be all right, and I'll probably rest here for most of the day. Now I just want to let them know that they should come around my side, because it's actually really nice. Here we go, it's a signal. It's funny how we're able to communicate with our hands, a thumbs up, and wave them around, and that's what I love about guiding, is that you form the most bizarre communication with people. How this, means come forward or go down, or that's good, no, go back a little bit, wait. You do all these types of crazy things with your hands. But I think we're going to have to head out now, and we're going to give these two lovely gentlemen who have just joined the sighting a really good view. But let's carry on. Let's go back. I just want to quickly check something. Right, okay. We can slowly start moving away. Have one last little look at her though. Right. Now while I try and navigate out of this wonderful sighting, and I hope you all enjoyed that, let's go back to Stef, who is walking around.
Come back to us right at a moment of discovery. There's an insect in the mouth of the scorpion burrow. I want you to come and have a look at it. Here is the scorpion burrow, and there is the insect that is in the front or waiting in the front of this burrow for whatever reason. I've got a feeling or a suspicion that it's probably an assassin bug of some sort. It's actually not. It's a spider, and on her back are baby spiders. So it's actually a spider, and carried on her back are a bunch of her babies. It's probably a lynx spider, just judging from the size, and she's just trying to get probably have seen us. Can you see the babies on the back, Dave? I think so. Those little white dots. Yeah. Are all babies. That's incredible. Awesome. Yeah, I can see legs. So those little yellow dots on her abdomen are babies. Let's see if you can try and get as close as you can there, Dave. She will retreat a little bit deeper, but I'm sure just for our interest's sake we could try and get in there. Those little creamy colored dots that you're seeing on her abdomen, those are her babies, and she's carrying them around just hatched, freshly hatched on her abdomen. Yes, that's awesome. There she's coming out now. Yes, that is very, very, very cool. Now those little spiderlings won't stay with her for long at all. They will literally go through what we call their first ecdysis. They will stay until they molt for the first time. Those yellow, that creamy abdomen that you had a look at there was what they are feeding on. That is their yolk sacs. Now she's turned around and is giving us her face. This is all very tiny, folks. It literally, that is about 1 inch across, that hole. So excuse the slight wobble to the camera as David heroically tries and keeps his heartbeat out of the equation, which is impossible to do. That is one of the best things I've seen all day. So mommy lynx spider would have carried around the egg sac in her mouth, putting it down to hunt and to feed, and then picking it up and keeping it with her. And then when her babies hatched, they came out of the egg sac and onto her abdomen, and she'll keep on looking after them for a while, and after they ecdyse for the first time, they will then leave and begin hunting on their own, having used up the yolk that the mom had given them. That is just phenomenal. So congratulations everybody. I just actually want to get a closer look myself. Yeah, I can see at least, there's at least 10 or 15 of her babies on her. Wow, well done. Congratulations there. It's always good. Yeah. Oh, I tell you, today I mark today as the first day of summer because literally, and I'm not even joking to you, last week when we were busy walking around, there was very little to show you in terms of insects. Lots of elephant around, lots of buffalo, lots of lion, and today it just seems as if we've turned a corner. Everywhere I look, like for instance right here, here's a beetle that I have absolutely no idea what it is, with a coppery colored head and stripes on its body, busy feeding on this raisin. Let me see if I can turn this one around. Have a look at the colors on this particular beetle. Coppery colored head, dots on the abdomen, stripes on the elytra, the wing covers. Just absolutely beautiful. Feeding on this raisin. Oh, sorry. We've got these I'm just saying milkweed leaf beetles are these ones. I identified them the other day after having a look at them pretty much the whole season. That there is a milkweed leaf beetle. That coppery colored beetle there. And we almost always just find them on these common spike thorns. The whole of this year we've just found them feeding on these common spike thorns. They're not on any of the other trees around here. Literally just there, that beautiful coppery color. Lovely, eh? Ah, Taylor's got something we haven't seen in a long time.
Right, look at what we found. We've got a hyena. Actually, there's not just one of them. There's about 3 or 4 of them through here. Now, I suspect that they've been feeding on that buffalo, which was unfortunately trapped in the Arathusa Dam. Now, I checked with the head guide of Arathusa, and unfortunately, they've called that a negative area. So that means that unfortunately we can't go there, whether it's because there's guests in the lodge still. So we unfortunately won't be able to go there until they change the status of that sighting. But never mind, finally we've actually got some hyenas. And unfortunately we can't move too much because I know we're in a very dodgy patch there. We are surrounded by gremlins at the moment. But isn't this amazing? Finally, now I have no idea who these hyenas are. It seems as though the hyenas have come from far and wide to there and others that might get another view of them again. They have come from far and wide to feed on that carcass. You can see they've got full bellies and they were quite dirty. Maybe they've even going to go and cool down in this little pan that we've got. But isn't this lovely? So these are spotted hyena. That also looks like a juvenile. It seems to be 2 juveniles and possibly a mother, an adult, matriarch. But I don't know where she's gone now. She's also disappeared. But unfortunately they are disappearing around the corner now. We can try and see if we can reposition a little bit, but I hope that you don't lose me. Let's try and have a look with my phone. These things are amazing for communication devices, of course. Let's see if we can't get one more look. It might come back up and around. They're going down right, or they're not going to come up and meet in that corner over there. Okay. One came back. Okay, we're just trying to have a very quick look as to where they're going to go. Let's try and get a view here. Okay, I see them on top of the pan. We might actually get another shot of them up from here now that we're on higher ground. Oh, they're changing direction. Let's quickly view it. You see her just through there? Oh, no. Let's see where she's going to pop up to. She just went down in that drainage. Let's see if she's going to come up. There she goes. Off and over to the other side. I don't know if you saw that, but it looks like her mammary glands are quite swollen. Perhaps she's got youngsters. Maybe there's some cubs. Yeah, it does actually look like she's actively been suckling. And there goes the other one. You can just saw it disappear behind the dam wall, but it's going to go a very similar route. There go the two of them. Oh, there's quite a few. There's 2 adults. So there must be at least 4 here that are moving around in this area. VM, you said there's a road on the other side.
Yeah, I can drive next to
Okay, let's go. Okay, let's quickly go around across to the boundary. And let's see. Now, like I said, I hope the gremlins don't attack us. We'll try and be quick about it. If you see, I'm just trying to also navigate around here. With somebody walking around with hyena footprints underneath their shoes, because I hadn't really seen. I think I've only seen 2, and then the occasion. We'll go through this little donga here. Let's see if we can catch them coming out on the other side. I'm just having a very quick look around here just to see if we can get an idea of where they're going to come out. Haven't spotted them just yet. Can you see them? Perfect. VM's got them. VM's eagle eyes this morning. Here they are. Hi, hyenas. There we go. They are on the large side. Definitely see. I'm going to try and snap a shot and maybe we'll be able to identify them. Well, I hope you'll be able to identify them by their bums, because that seems to be what we're getting at the moment. Here comes a youngster. Just try and duck's going to follow exactly the same route. A nice little one. Off they go again into the distance. Isn't this incredible? No, I'm not sure if we're still live or not. I don't know if the gremlins have attacked. Ah, perfect. Thank you. That's very good. I'm so glad that I'm still around and you're able to see all of this. Now, unfortunately, we've reached the boundary now, and they are disappearing into the distance. But wasn't that spectacular? Finally, to have a decent glimpse of some hyena. I know that you were all desperately looking for them or hoping to see them over the last a couple of weeks. Well, actually, since I've been there, I know everybody's been absolutely itching. Let's maybe see if we can get one last look. I think they could be curving out. Maybe we can look behind the trees. I want to give you as much coverage of these hyenas as I can, because I'm so nervous and I never know when or if we're going to see any. We actually had a whole lot of them shouting and screaming. I think they were fighting with the lions very early this morning at about 4 o'clock. Can you get that? Then we can't go down here, hey? This is, I think, indeed the boundary. I've run out of signal on my GPS, so I can't tell you anymore. I think they, unfortunately, have disappeared. Right. But I think that's the end of the hyenas, but as short and sweet as it was, I really hope you enjoyed it. I know I did. And please send through some more questions about hyenas, because I can still answer them as we go along. But let's go back across to Stef.
That hyena sighting was so short. Sounded like you were just getting into the groove with them and then they moved off, as our hyena do, always constantly moving everywhere. For years I believed that somewhere along any road there will be a hyena moving or crossing every single road, every single night here at Djuma. I'm convinced that they cover massive amounts of ground. Now, not smelling as much as they were last week. These white berry bushes have started to produce their berries, their characteristic white berry, and something that we relish while we are out here. This is a white berry bush. This whole bush that you're looking at here is a white berry bush. It does have a guari underneath it, and at the back of it, it has a common spike thorn. This is a common spike thorn. But this bush that I'm standing next to now is the white berry bush, and if you come a little bit closer, you'll see the berries starting to come out in their clusters. Now, their flower was an incredibly citrusy smelling flower that sort of pervaded the bush here for about a week, 2 weeks ago. And now those flowers have all been pollinated by a variety of different insects, generally speaking bees and flying wasps, tiny little wasps. And now we'll start to produce these clusters of white fruit that we then can eat, and it will herald the first of the fruits of the season, something I'm looking forward to immensely, with the crescendo, I suppose, being the marula fruit, which are ripe around about February to around about April is when we have the marula fruit. So we're looking forward to quite a long fruiting season, from this through to the guaris and all the rest of the things, all the way to the marula fruits in February. On that note, we're going to send you through to Byron, who's got an update for you.
Look at this, everybody. We found my favorite bird, a large martial eagle, perched right up at the top of this dead tree. Look at that magnificent bird. You can see that very large head, flattish head on top, with those feathers just blowing and lifting a little bit in the back of the crest, the back of the head there in the wind. Very large, powerful eagle. Probably one of the largest, if not the largest eagle that we get in this area. The martial eagle. If he looks at us again, look how that head's moving. Look at those beautiful yellow eyes. You see that? You can see on the underbelly that little bit of black marking, those black specks under the white, with the white underbelly, and those sharp talons. Have a look at that, wrapped around that stump or that dead tree. Incredible. Now these eagles specialize in hunting monitor lizards, these very large, very thick-scaled monitor lizards that we get in this area. And they're incredibly powerful lizards, but these martial eagles specialize in hunting them because they've got these sharp talons and that sharp beak to be able to tear open the skin of those monitor lizards. It's incredible to see that. They'll also hunt birds. Martial eagles may even hunt guinea fowl and that, ground birds. And there have been reports of martial eagles killing small antelope, so young newborn impala, for example, impala lambs, and maybe the odd steenbok, a little antelope called the steenbok. Martial eagles will also hunt them. It's incredible. I once watched a martial eagle trying to hunt a klipspringer, which is it's a small little antelope about the size of a duiker or a duiker, and they live in very rocky areas, rocky outcrops. They're able to jump around rocks very well, and this martial eagle was dive bombing and trying to catch this klipspringer, but I think the klipspringer was a bit too clever. It kept jumping from one rock to the other, avoiding the eagle. But it is not a small antelope. Well, it's not that small. It's bigger than the eagle, that's for sure. And this eagle was still trying to catch it. Incredible. So very, very powerful birds. And it's fantastic. Just to give you an idea, if I can show you how large this eagle is. If this eagle was sitting next to me on the dashboard, it would probably be about that size, maybe a little bit more, about there. That's how big this martial eagle would be if it was sitting right in front of me. Incredibly large bird, and it's so wonderful. There's a lilac-breasted roller that was flying around there that wasn't too happy with this martial eagle. Other birds do mob these eagles because, again, they are birds of prey. They just want to get them away. But this martial didn't seem very fazed at all. I actually hope it takes off. I'd like you to see the wingspan of this bird. Look at that. Hang on, what did that marshal go down for? Let's just have a look. And comment from Nkuhuma Lovebug, and she says this makes number 69 on her bird list. That's great. So new bird for you too. Let's just see if he caught anything. It's just sitting over there now in the tree. I don't think so. I thought it went down. Maybe it saw something and tried to catch it and missed. Oh, they are magnificent birds. You can see that coloration down the belly, that white underbelly with the black specks, blackish brown specks, and that really dark brown head. This is a beautiful bird. This is a special sighting. For to sit out in the open like this, for us to see it and spend time with us, it's fantastic. Usually they do move off quite quickly, but look how that head is moving around. Very, very good eyesight, and looks like it's constantly looking for food. Any little bit of movement, it's probably picking up on that and seeing if it's worth hunting. Look how it's able to turn that neck and head right around. This is really wonderful, everyone. I hope you're enjoying this as much as I am, because I do love martial eagles. As I said, this is my favorite bird. They've just got a seriousness about them. If you look at their face, they've got these deep set eyes, and they're powerful birds. I really have enjoyed the birding the last few days. We've been so lucky. I'm going to continue doing more of it, because I think there's some wonderful bird species around. We just need to try find them and catch them quick enough before they fly off. And those little feathers at the back of the head, typical martial eagle look, that large head with those feathers forming a little bit of a crest right at the back, just with the wind blowing through them. Alright, we're going to continue and just see what else we can find. What a lovely sight to the martial eagle. Let's get back to Tayla and see what she's up to. Tayla might be in an area where there's a little bit of tricky signal, but I think we'll head to her shortly. This marshal hasn't flown yet. We're still going to carry on and just see what else we can find. The sun looks like it's trying to sneak through, trying to burn off some of this cloud cover. Look at that, can you see there? Alright, it sounds like Tayla's got a bit of a few gremlins on the vehicle, but let's get an update from Stef and see where he is.
To the close of this particular show today, I'm going to throw out a riddle. Have a look at this epically cup-shaped woody growth that we found. This is how it would have been in nature. It would have been up and suspended on a branch, holding a plant. It can only be one of two things. Either this is an orchid, or it's a mistletoe, and I'm more inclined to believe that this is a mistletoe cup, a wood rose for lack of a better description. And the reason for that is that mistletoe definitely have the ability or the means to affect a tree's growth around them, and this, in my opinion at least anyway, is nothing other than that. Would have been on a branch. The mistletoe, the branch would have been like where my arm is basically, and the tree would have grown this fantastic, what we call wood rose, and then died, leaving this cup for us to find lying on the floor. And I think it's from a mistletoe. Isn't that incredible? Now, standing next to this fantastic caterpillar pod tree, I just want to say thank you for today. We can mark this day as the beginning of summer for me with the profusion of insects that has started to come out. I just want to say thank you from my part. Thank you very much for helping me with all those questions, and you'll catch me again on walk over the next couple of days. So wherever you are in the world, have a good afternoon or a good morning. We'll see you soon.
So we just caught a quick glimpse of a woodpecker. We were going to try to show you, but just very, very quickly flew off. It was a little cardinal woodpecker, which is great. But as I said, sometimes it's not easy showing you all these birds because they sit and then they fly very, very quickly. What an exciting morning. It's been fantastic. We've had a lot of lion activity first thing this morning. Tayla's been lucky with the leopard, or leopards rather, and it's great having Stef back on the walks. I really enjoy hearing about all the little things that he gets to show you. I'm sure this afternoon is going to be quite warm again, but hopefully action-packed. Maybe we get lucky and we find out where that male leopard went to, and Tingana. I'd love to see him this afternoon. So let's see what happens or what's in store for us then. Marie, thank you for your comment. You enjoyed the Marshall Eagle just as much as I did, and you're saying it's so nice to end off the drive with the beautiful Marshall. It is indeed. That really was a fantastic way to end off. We've got some impala just off to the side now. Just sort of the brakes a little bit. I just wanted to show you some of them lying down, resting. There we go, some males. So Tayla's still experiencing some technical difficulties, but she says goodbye, I'm sure, and she'll see you later this afternoon on Drive. A big thank you to Stef again. Thank you to my friend Brian and the Thumb for an amazing morning. And also a big thank you to the ladies in the FC, the voices in my head. It's always great having your guidance and you guys sending us the questions. And of course, thank you very much to the viewers for all your wonderful, wonderful questions and comments. We will see you this afternoon. Have a great day. Goodbye, everybody.